Chapter 2934 Another Wave. It can even be said that after Guishu was injured and hid in the back mountain, he might be waiting for his arrival. The reason why Guishu became so ferocious should be the secret technique performed by Gong Jia. Yang Kai still remembered that when he tracked Gong Jia through that halfway of magic thoughts, Guishu even bit Gong Jia on Lingzhan Peak. There is a hidden demon sealing place under Lingzhan Peak, and the birth of the Guishu bloodline should be related to this. And Yang Kai has the black pupil of the ancient demon in his body, and the aura of the ancient demon is sealed in his body. Guishu may be aware of it, so he wants to get close to him. All kinds of thoughts flashed in his mind, and Yang Kai quickly came to the front of the space law circle, and the law went straight back to the Northern Territory Lingxiao Palace. A moment later, light flashed above the magic circle, and two figures appeared. Palace Master, this is the Qingyang Temple. The army of the South Gate looked around curiously, then clicked his tongue and said, "It's not very good, it's not as grand as our Lingxiao Palace. Well, the aura of the world seems to be not as good as it is. Do more and talk less, don't you understand the truth?" Yang Kai took the lead and flew in front. The army of the South Gate laughed and said, "Yes, yes, yes, Xiaohu asked me to ask you how the flying secret treasure is used, and is there any place that needs to be repaired?" "No, it works fine. Also, Palace Master, the girl named Yao in Bingxin Valley has come several times. Every time she comes, she sees that you are not there and then leaves. Is that our Palace Master's wife? You talk a lot. Okay, don't talk, don't talk." Nanman Daijin covered his mouth, held back for a while, and suddenly said, "That girl is still very good. It's here." Yang Kai fell down while speaking. The group of people below had obviously noticed it, and when they looked up, they were very curious as to why Yang Kai suddenly brought a stranger over. The army of the South Gate looked like a cat smelling fish, looking excitedly at the entrance of the demon sealing land, their eyes glowing, and they walked back and forth in front of the cave entrance, their expressions becoming more and more excited. After a while, he suddenly turned around and said, "Palace Master, I'm going down, wait for my good news." He didn't pay attention to anyone, just jumped down, and soon disappeared. A group of people looked at Yang Kai curiously. "Yang Kai Dao, that one is the Emperor Formation Master of the Northern Territory, the South Gate Army, who happened to be nearby, so I asked him to help." Wen Zishan looked at him with a smile, as if he had discovered something, but he didn't say anything. As time went by, news continued to come from below. The South Gate Army is worthy of being the Emperor's Formation Master. After entering the land of sealing demons, it quickly broke many remaining formation restrictions, and used its own strength to gain the dominance power, so that a group of formation masters in the temple respected him very much. The battle lasted for 2 full days. During this period, people from various sects in the southern region came to the Qingyang Temple to inquire about news. All these people were released from the temple. The elders of the temple took turns to receive them and tell them about the place where the demons were sealed, and the matter of breaking the ban on magic thoughts. Many people turned pale and worried when they heard this. 2 days later, hundreds of people gathered at the foot of Lingzhan Peak. Basically all of them were powerhouses in the Emperor's senior realm, and they were all waiting for news from the sealing demon cave. Now that the magic thought has fled, how to track it is a big problem. It is the first time in the history of the Southern Territory that it has encountered such a thing. It has no experience at all. Everything can only rely on the clues that may be left in the magic sealing cave, otherwise it is a needle in a haystack. There are no clues in the demon sealing cave. The Nanman army and the formation masters of the temple have cracked all the restrictions inside, but they can't find the information of the magic thoughts, but the cracked formations have given them some gains. It may be useful in the future when the magic thought is sealed again early. For a while, everyone was worried. People from the Star God Palace came, and the great elder Lei Hong personally led the team and brought the Emperor's order to eliminate demons, ordering all the sects in the southern region to investigate the disciples of their respective clans, in case some people might be corrupted by demonic thoughts. Lei Hong announced the Emperor's order at the foot of Lingzhan Peak, and everyone naturally agreed. It has to be said that the great Emperor's order to slay demons made the entire southern territory find the backbone, and the moods of many strong men are not as disturbed as before. After all, there is still a Star God Palace in the Southern Territory, and there is also a Mingyu Emperor. No matter how secretive and ferocious the evil thoughts are, as long as the Emperor sits in charge, they will never be able to make any waves. After the demon-killing order was issued, many emperors were ready to leave the Qingyang Temple and return to their respective sects to start the matter. At this moment, a red light suddenly came galloping from outside, with a menacing aura, as if there was no one else around. It traveled hundreds of miles in the blink of an eye, and rushed to the front of Lingjian Peak. Having just encountered the breaking of the ban on the magic thoughts, many powerful people are more sensitive to their emotions. It seems that people are so unscrupulous, and they went straight to the Qingyang temple without notification, thinking that something happened. Frightened, many people instinctively started to attack and intercept. A few days ago, the scene where many elders of the temple and Chen Wenhao Fengming teamed up to fight Gong Jia was already hot enough, but compared with what is happening now, it is nothing. Hundreds of Emperor Senior Realm gathered here. Even if only 1/3 of them made a move, the scene would be spectacular. What's more, far more than 1/3 of the shot. The Emperor's prestige diffused, and the light of secret techniques bloomed one after another. The power of each Emperor's treasure fluctuated, and they all hit the red light. The red light rushing over was obviously a little dazed. He didn't expect to encounter such a thing at all, and when he paused slightly in midair, the space he was in was already surrounded by countless attacks. A dragon's chant suddenly exploded, and the high-pitched sound shook people's eardrums, and everyone's expressions changed drastically, because the sound was actually an extremely pure dragon's chant, not the sound made by those dragon monsters. The moment the dragon chant sounded, Yang Kai's blood suddenly surged, as if he had been drawn uncontrollably. He didn't make a move just now, but at this moment he stared forward with wide eyes. With a bright red light, a gigantic monster suddenly appeared in the midair. Its body was as tall as a mountain, with a length of more than 20 feet. It had dragon horns on its head, 4 claws on its belly, and red dragon scales all over its body, like a burning flame. When the tail flicked, a gust of wind and cloud changed. Hiss a euro. Everyone gasped, and stared absently at the huge monster in the sky, as if they were looking at a high-ranking god, and for a while, many people felt weak in their hands and feet. Dragons. The person who came was actually a pure dragon clan. This is something that no one thought of. The dragon's prestige permeates, as if a tangible force impacts the emperor's prestige gathered by hundreds of emperors, smashing it to pieces. Crackling for a while, the joint attack of dozens of emperors blasted the dragon's body, and the giant dragon roared upwards, and a burst of flames splashed on the red scales. The dragon's body was solid, and although such an attack would not kill the giant dragon, it still caused him unbearable pain and anger. The dragon's head was raised high, and a mouthful of dragon's breath spewed out. As if a volcano had erupted, a scorching flame spewed directly from the dragon's mouth towards Lingjian Peak. Before the attack arrived, everyone's skin was aching from being roasted. The dragon flame seemed to be able to burn everything in the world, even the Emperor Prestige Realm. Can feel deadly threat from it. Not good. Yang Kai's face changed, and at the same time he took a step forward, and he came directly in front of everyone. The Elder Jade Plate was in front of him, and when the Emperor Yuan surged, the magic arts were connected. The Spirit Sword Peak's formation burst into motion, forming a protective shield visible to the naked eye directly in front of it. This is a defense that mobilized the power of the entire Lingfeng, but after all, it was rushed and could not exert its full strength. The dragon flame hit the protective cover, and the scorching high temperature immediately baked the protective cover a little deformed, and the sound of sneering was endless, and there were layers of ripples on the transparent protective cover, as if it was about to melt it away. Everyone was shocked and almost ran away. No one had the confidence to face the terrifying power of the dragon flame. Lei Hong took a step forward and punched out, which was unremarkable. But outside the shield, there was a sudden crackling sound, and a bucket-thick lightning crashed into the flames, rushing left and right in the flames, reducing Yang Kai's pressure. This blow was the essence of Lei Hong's cultivation, which showed the strength of the veteran Emperor Zun 3-layer mirror powerhouse. With a twist of the giant dragon's head, the dragon flames became more and more violent, as if it could melt the lightning. Enough! Wen Zishan shouted suddenly, with one hand behind his back, holding a jade plate, and with a light wave of the other hand, a beam of light slashed out, directly cutting off Long Yan from it. The giant dragon raised its head, hovered in the sky, and looked down at everyone from a high position. The huge dragon's eyes were full of angry flames, and its big mouth opened and closed, as if it might breathe out another dragon's breath at any time. Yang Kai took back the protection of Lingjian Peak and wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. Demonstrate your identity and explain your reason for coming, Dragon Clan. Wen Zishan looked at the red dragon in the sky with a stern expression, and felt in his heart that the Qingyang temple was really troubled. Now there is another dragon clan coming, and I don't know why this year is so unlucky, and there are waves of ups and downs, which make him a little tired of coping. But in the face of a pure dragon, even Wen Zishan did not dare to be careless, because there is only one place in the world where there are dragons, and behind the red dragon in front of him is a force that even the emperor cannot ignore. Who hit me? Who hit me just now? The red dragon didn't respond to Wen Zishan's question, but opened his mouth and roared, as if he had been greatly humiliated. His anger couldn't be added, and the deafening roar made the whole Qingyang the temple trembled. The faces of those emperors senior realm who accidentally shot at the red dragon turned pale, and kept shrinking away from the crowd, lest they would be recognized by the red dragon. You. The red dragon's eyes turned continuously, and he paused for a moment on several emperors, and you, don't hide, I saw it just now, and you all have shot. I didn't, my lord, you read it wrong. The person who spoke shrank even more, and his whole body was covered in cold sweat. Chapter 2935 Zulai. Offending the Dragon Clan is no fun. The Dragon Clan is proud and claims to be the master of all spirits. If they had known that the person who came was actually a dragon clan, no one would have taken it rashly. But the red dragon rushed quickly and silently at this extremely sensitive time. Who can restrain the instinct of action? Attacking the dragon is humiliating the dragon, which is definitely a big problem. Fortunately, the enemy were not clear just now, and everyone had scruples when they shot, and they didn't go all out. Otherwise, if they injured the dragon clan, I'm afraid everyone present would suffer. Have the guts to take action, but have the guts to admit it. The red dragon roared, you humble ants, you are all going to die. As soon as this remark came out, the faces of many emperor senior realms changed drastically. The dragon clan is difficult to deal with, and the dragon clan in a rage is even more unreasonable. It is true that hundreds of emperor senior realm teamed up cannot be afraid of a giant dragon, but so what if they beat him? There is Dragon Island behind him. If the Dragon Island group of dragons is really provoked, I'm afraid that the entire star world will be messed up. Such a result is 100 times more serious than the recovery of the demonic thoughts. The red dragon was obviously really angry, and he was about to make a move when he burst out. With a dignified expression on Wen Zishan's face, he secretly decided that even if he really offended Long Dao, he couldn't let so many emperors be killed in the Qingyang temple. Wait a minute, Lei Hong shouted and stood up. Old man, you also shot just now. The red dragon hovered in the sky, its huge body gave people a strong visual impact and mental pressure. At this moment it suddenly bent down. The dragon's head was less than 3 feet away from Lei Hong. The dragon eyes that were bigger than the window stared at him maliciously. Everyone was sweating for Lei Hong. Lei Hong clasped his fists and said, may I ask that your honor is from the legendary Dragon Island in the East China Sea? So what? The red dragon spewed out a hot breath from the nostrils, and Lei Hong's body shone with light. Her hair was still burned a little. As expected, Lei Hong showed a look of sudden realization. He smiled and said, it is rumored that there is a dragon island in the East China Sea, and there is a giant dragon on the island, which is invisible to the world, but even so, the reputation of the Dragon Island is no less than that of the great emperor's sect. I am lucky to see you today. What a blessing. Quote, it is rare for the great elders of Xingshan Palace to blatantly flatter, and a group of emperor senior realm were a little dumbfounded after hearing this. But these non-painful words had a miraculous effect. Everyone clearly felt that the anger of the red dragon had weakened a lot. The huge dragon head was slightly away from Lei Hong, and he kept nodding his head in a loud voice. Oh, the old man is quite knowledgeable, he knows the prestige of our Dragon Island. That's true. Who doesn't know the name of my Dragon Island in the world? What is a mere great emperor's sect? Lei Hong laughed dryly. Although there was a lot of unhappiness in his heart, it was not easy to show it. He is the great elder of the great emperor's sect. The word, district, in the red dragon's mouth naturally made him uncomfortable, but he knew the nature of the dragon clan, so he didn't want to care about it. So as not to add fuel to the fire. The red dragon seemed to have been poked on an itch. Still boasting over there. My dragon clan just doesn't want to compete with you lowly ants for fame and wealth, otherwise, once our Dragon Island elites come out, all the great emperors and that great emperor will have to stand aside. Believe it or not, I slobbered drown you all. The more he said, the more outrageous it became, and a group of emperors frowned secretly. Lei Ting hurriedly interrupted him and said, the dragon clan has not been born for a long time, and this is the first time I have seen it. I can recognize it. I thought it was an enemy coming, so I acted rashly, and a little misunderstanding occurred. Yes, I was too impulsive just now, please don't mind this lord. If my lord reveals his true body early in the morning, I will never take action against you. To see the real body of the giant dragon today, I am so lucky. Quote. A group of people were noisy and chattering, and everyone could see that although the red dragon here had a bad temper and was not easy to get along with, he seemed to have soft ears, and just saying a few nice words could calm his anger. This is also a common problem of people who are too proud. Since they are proud, they naturally don't want to care too much about people who are too humble. For a moment, everyone praised him generously. The giant dragon felt comfortable physically and mentally, relaxed and happy. The anger that was about to erupt like a volcano just now dissipated. Forget it, next time you make a move, you have to widen your eyes to see clearly. Everyone exhaled softly, and Wen Zishan dissipated the concentrated strength, and cast a grateful look at Lei Hong. There have been frequent changes in the temple, and he himself was injured in the world of the magic mirror before. There was a conflict between the dragons, no matter who wins or loses, Qingyang Temple will suffer. Lei Hong smiled slightly, indicating that he didn't need to care. Wen Zishan raised his fists to the sky and said, "Since your honor is from Long Island, may I ask which adult from Long Island?" Benlong Zuli. The red dragon shook his head and tail, and his voice spread for hundreds of miles. It turned out to be Master Zhu Lai. I don't know what is your duty to visit Qingyang Temple. Looking for someone. Zhu Lai tossed a few times, the dragon head faced the crowd, and the dragon eyes swept around in the crowd. Who is Yang Kai? Yang Kai was still watching the show, when he suddenly heard this guy called Zhu Lai calling his name. He couldn't help but startled. Hundreds of pairs of eyes also looked at him in unison, and some Emperor Senior stage standing near Yang Kai quickly retreated to the surroundings, pulling away from him, as if standing next to him would be bad luck. Wen Zishan was also a little stunned. The giant dragon was born and came to Qingyang Temple. He thought it was the revival of magic thoughts and breaking the ban that attracted him here. Although the dragon clan claims to be the master of all spirits and thinks highly of themselves, this is indeed a powerful race that has been passed down for countless years. If there is any person or creature in this world who understands the demonic thoughts of the demon race best, it must be the dragon race. Who knew that this guy came here for Yang Kai, not for Mo Nian? He looked towards Yang Kai curiously, and found that Yang Kai also had a blank expression on his face. You are Yang Kai. No need for others to identify. The eyes and attitudes of the surrounding emperors have made Zhu Lai recognize the goal of this trip, and ordered without any discussion, "Follow me." Where are you going? Yang Kai frowned. Go to Long Island. Zhu Lai replied impatiently. Everyone whispered, even if they were in the Emperor Senior realm, they couldn't calm down when they heard these words. It is definitely an honor to be able to set foot on the land of Long Island in one's lifetime, but seeing Zhu Lai's attitude, everyone felt that if they really went, it would be bad luck. No one knows how Yang Kai offended Long Dao and Long Clan. Yang Kai understood something, and frowned. Is it Zhu Qing who called you here? She is not qualified to order me. Zhu Lai snorted coldly, a trace of disdain flashed in his eyes. Who gave you the order? Yang Kai asked. Zhu Lai flicked his tail impatiently. Bai Liyun moved, and responded with a buzzing voice. You don't need to know, just go back to Long Island with me. Yang Kai smiled and said, I'm going to Long Island, but I can't do it now. There are still some things that need to be dealt with here. So this brother Zhu Lai, can I bother you to go back and tell the person above you just say that I will go to see you when I am free, and there is no need to send someone to invite me. He suddenly became wary of Long Dao and Long Zhu. Before, Zhu Qing invited him to Long Island again and again. At the beginning, Yang Kai thought it was because of the Dragon Island token in his hand and the few dragon secret treasures he had refined. Now it seems that things are not that simple. Zhu Qing went to the permafrost in the Northern Territory, but has not returned yet, and there is no news from her. Long Island actually sent another dragon clan to bring him back to Long Island. Yang Kai estimated that it had something to do with the original power of Jin Shenglong, and he seemed to have underestimated the attraction of the original power of Jin Shenglong to the dragon clan. Therefore, it is impossible for him to set foot on Long Island before he has figured out the matter, so as not to know what he has suffered. What's more, Mo Nian had just broken the ban and escaped. As a participant in this matter, he couldn't stay out of it. Zhu Lai's dragon eyes widened, he looked at Yang Kai in surprise, and said in a deep voice after a while, Human, did you reject me just now? The anger that had calmed down showed signs of rolling over again, and both Lei Hong and Wen Zishan's complexions changed slightly. Before Yang Kai answered anything, Zhu Lai was already furious. How courageous! Ben Long came here in person, how dare you refuse me? You are asking for your own death. He rolled in midair for a while, suddenly filled with an indescribable sense of chill within a radius of 100 miles. Yang Kai's face sank and said, "My meaning has been expressed very clearly, you either go back to Long Island to convey it, or I will call you back." Hearing this, many of the Emperor's senior realm turned pale and looked at Yang Kai in shock, thinking that this guy was a bit daring, that a mere Emperor's senior realm dared to talk to a dragon clan like that. Wen Zishan, Gao Shueting and the others were all stunned as if they were meeting Yang Kai for the first time. No one has ever dared to talk to the dragon clan like that, and those who talked like that are probably dead. Lei Hong kept winking at Yang Kai, signaling him to restrain himself. After all, Zhu Lai's anger was calmed down with great difficulty, and Yang Kai's few words can definitely stir up the anger again. As the great elder of the Star God Palace, he can endure humiliation, but Yang Kai is just the elder Keqing of the Qingyang Temple. No matter in terms of cultivation or status, he is far behind him, so what does it matter if he speaks soft words? It's too late. Zhu Lai's anger was rekindled, and it was several times stronger than before, and he let out a terrifying laugh. The humble ants dare to provoke the dragon clan, you really don't know the sky. He didn't finish speaking, because Yang Kai had already come to him in a flash. Compared with the 20-foot-long body, the tiny figure was insignificant. To be continued. Chapter 2936 Four-Jong Dragon Body. The high-pitched dragon chant came out, and when the golden light was shining, a huge dragon's head flashed behind Yang Kai, rushed into his body and disappeared. Yang Kai punched and slammed into the bridge of the dragon's nose. With a bang, Zhu Lai's head tilted, and the violent force made him a little dizzy, and he felt that the bridge of his nose was broken. Yang Kai was a little stunned, because this blow didn't have the effect he expected. Having been in contact with Zhu Qing for a period of time, he knows that bloodlines are extremely powerful to suppress the dragon clan, and the party with higher bloodlines has absolute ability to suppress the party with lower bloodlines, which has nothing to do with his own strength. The bloodlines of the dragon clan are divided into ranks. It is said that Zhu Yan, the great elder of the dragon clan, is a 10th rank green dragon. No matter how strong the dragon clan is, no matter how strong it is impossible for him to be his opponent. Another example is Zhu Qing. Her own strength is comparable to the 3-layer mirror of Emperor Senior. If Yang Kai really fights with her alone, even if all means are used, it may not be able to guarantee victory, but if he uses the suppression of blood power, Zhu Qing is no match at all. It is impossible to exert one's own strength at all. In Yang Kai's mind, although this Zhu Lai's strength is not bad, but the strength of his bloodline cannot be higher than Zhu Qing's. He was able to suppress Zhu Qing with the original power of Jin Shenglong, so naturally he would have no problem dealing with Zhu Lai. But after this punch, he realized that he was wrong. The expected bloodline suppression did not appear, instead, the strong dragon scale shook his fists to be bloody. Zhu Lai was completely enraged by this punch, and growled, "Since Benlong dares to come to you, he naturally has a way to restrain you. Do you think you can restrain me?" When he opened his mouth to roar, a burst of flames spewed out, and Yang Kai instantly became a burning man, melting quickly in the flames. Everyone below exclaimed. Zhu Lai was also a little dazed, his eyes glazed over. He was ordered to bring Yang Kai back to Long Island, but he never thought about killing him. Facing Yang Kai's resistance and provocation, he couldn't hold back the anger in his heart. I wanted to teach him a lesson and let him be more honest and peaceful, but who knew that he would be burned to death with a breath of dragon breath? What can I do? If the great elder knew, he would definitely be punished. Just when he was at a loss, suddenly it seemed like a big mountain was pressing down on his head. His head hurt from the smash, and he couldn't help roaring, and the burned figure in front of him finally became clear at this moment. It turned out to be just an afterimage left in place because of the speed. Zhu Lai was excited and angry at the same time. He was excited because he didn't kill the target by mistake. What is angry is that this little bug has deceived himself. He was completely enraged, and when his body was shaking, he avoided the attack from the head, facing Yang Kai and grabbed it. The huge dragon claw seems to be able to seal a huge space, and the energy is condensed in the dragon claw, and its power is terrifying, but when this energy is compressed to the extreme, it suddenly explodes violently. A fierce and unparalleled power rose from the dragon claws and bombarded Yang Kai. Yang Kai clapped his hands together, and the huge moon blade leisurely took shape, cutting through the space and facing forward. There was a loud bang. Under the impact of the two forces, the extremely powerful storm expanded, and countless gaps were opened in the void. Zhu Lai's huge figure didn't move, and Yang Kai retreated more than 100 feet before stabilizing his figure. After a confrontation, Yang Kai fell into an absolute disadvantage, and it seemed that he was not Zhu Lai's opponent at all. What treasure did you bring? Yang Kai glanced at Zhu Lai. He could see clearly just now, when he made a move, there would be a brilliance flashing on Zhu Lai's body, and it was this brilliance that offset his golden saint dragon origin, the power to suppress his blood. Let him play to his full strength. Zhu Lai snorted coldly and said, "Be obedient and get caught, come back to Long Island with me, nothing will happen, if you still dare to resist, you will bear the consequences." A cow can press its head forcibly without drinking water. Yang Kai laughed. The laughter turned cold, and he said in a deep voice, "I'd like to see how far this strange treasure of yours can protect you." When the words fell, he gritted his teeth and let out a low shout. Yingwei's body suddenly swelled up, traces of pure dragon power pervaded, and a faint golden light overflowed from the pores of his body. The two hands turned into dragon claws, two weird small bumps bulged on the head, and the exposed skin was covered with dragon scales. In the blink of an eye, Yang Kai turned into a monster with a height of about 2 or 3 feet. It looked like there were some traces of the dragon clan, but it was a bit outrageously fake, and it felt a bit like a tiger that couldn't be an anti-dog. This is... Lei Hong's eyes widened suddenly, and he looked at the sky in shock. Wen Zishan and the others were also dumbfounded. Gao Shueding's beautiful eyes were full of brilliance, and the hundreds of emperors were quiet and silent. Everyone was extremely shocked. No one has ever seen such a secret technique that can change a person so much. Zhu Lai, however, was like a cat whose tail had been trampled on. He gritted his teeth and roared, "Dragon transformation art, dragon transformation art. That damn girl actually taught you the dragon transformation art. It is unforgivable, simply unforgivable." As if Yang Kai had done something outrageous, Zhu Lai's voice was extremely angry. "Now you don't want to go to Dragon Island. The secret of transforming dragons will not be spread. From now on, you are going to live on Dragon Island for the rest of your life." The long body flickered in the sky, and suddenly rushed to Yang Kai, opening his mouth to breathe out the dragon's breath. Yang Kai frowned secretly, resisting Zhu Lai's onslaught. He also didn't expect that Zhu Lai's reaction would be so violent after he performed the dragon transformation secret technique. According to him, this dragon transformation art is still an untold secret on Long Island. But Zhu Qing didn't mention it when she taught him this secret technique. At that time, Zhu Qing was in a hurry to go to the permafrost to find the remains of the previous generation of dragons, and before leaving, she passed on this pure dragon transformation secret technique to Yang Kai as if on a whim. It wasn't until now that Yang Kai knew that Zhu Qing's move was taking a great risk. The secret of cultivating the dragon transformation art was exposed. Long Dao would never let it go. Yang Kai was having a hard time, and Zhu Qing might not be having a good time either. The untold secret of any force cannot be easily spread to the outside world, let alone this is the secret technique of Long Dao. Yang Kai couldn't understand why Zhu Qing did this, and he couldn't allow him to think about it at the moment. Although Zhu Lai's 20-foot-long dragon was inconvenient to move, every attack had earth-shaking power, so he had to do his best to deal with it carefully. And he felt that after using the dragon transformation art, he had a little bit of ability to suppress Zhu Lai's dragon blood, so although he was reluctant, he was able to draw with him. The original power of Jin Shenglong is a huge wealth for Yang Kai, but he has not known how to transform this wealth into his own strength for a long time. Dragon transformation Ju can solve this problem. The deeper the cultivation, the more comprehensive the original power of Jin Shenglong can be exerted. If he cultivates to the extreme, he can even transform into a giant dragon and travel around the universe. It's a pity that Yang Kai's practice time is still short, so he can only transform into a half-dragon body 2 or 3 feet tall. Even so, it can also suppress Zhu Lai, who is carrying a strange treasure. The two figures were flying around in midair, each making strange moves, and they were in a tight fight for a while. A mouthful of dragon's breath spewed down from midair. Wen Zishan had to urge the power of the sect guard to block the aftermath, otherwise the entire Qingyang temple might suffer. Gradually the battlefield shifted. Yang Kai and Zhu Lai fought higher and higher, and they had already flown into the clouds. Even Emperor Senior Realm could hardly spy on their whereabouts. They knew the intensity of the battle. Everyone was sweating, not knowing how this matter would end today. When the dragon clan is dispatched, Yongkai will not be able to take advantage of the victory or defeat, and the Qingyang temple may also be in bad luck. After thinking about this, many emperors did not dare to stay to watch the good show, and they all found excuses to bid farewell to Wen Zishan, so as not to get burned later. Wen Zishan naturally had no mood to keep them, and let them go after a few casual greetings. They leave. Hundreds of people left quickly, only Lei Hong and a group of people from Star God Palace remained here. Brother Xiao said that this kid is a guy who can cause trouble. I didn't really believe it at first, but now it seems. Lei Hong shook his head and smiled bitterly. He looked up to the sky with enough eyesight, but he could only see faint traces. Wen Zishan said seriously, Yongkai is not at fault for what happened today. The dragon clan is too arrogant. If it were me, I wouldn't go with him. Lei Hong said, the question now is, how should it end? Wen Zishan said, the temple has undergone major changes, and the distraction is powerless. I'm afraid I have to trouble the emperor to talk about today's matter. Lei Hong pondered for a while, nodded and said, I will report this matter to the great emperor. Although the dragon clan is not easy to mess with, the southern territory can't be bullied casually. Thank you, brother Lei. Lei Hong waved his hands and said, Master Wen is serious, you and I should take action together to kill them. Huh. Before the words finished, Lei Hong seemed to have discovered something novel, and looked up with wide-eyed eyes. Wen Zishan obviously noticed it too, with a shocked expression on his face. Above the cloud layer, Yongkai acted like a god. His body that was originally 2 or 3 feet tall suddenly rose a lot, and suddenly became more than 4 feet tall. Such a body is already huge in front of ordinary people, but compared with the giant dragon, it is still a little not enough to watch. In addition to the skyrocketing stature, the 2 bulging bumps on his forehead also seemed to get bigger, and an indescribable aura suddenly permeated the air. Zhu Lai, who was inextricably fighting with Yongkai, turned pale with shock. If it was a human form, his face would be full of panic. When he spoke, he hurriedly backed away, as if he had seen something extremely terrifying. Yongkai was also stunned for a moment. Just now he was fighting Zhu Lai desperately, wanting to suppress the other party's dragon blood, unknowingly broke through the shackles of the dragon transformation art, under this secret technique going a step further, allowing the original power of the golden dragon in his body to be exerted more, and only then did the body change. Chapter 2937 A Dragon Scale. When he was overjoyed, Zhu Lai had already retreated 100 feet away, and Yongkai laughed frantically, where are we going? When the law of space was ups and downs, Zhu Lai was the first to catch up with him. His claws grabbed his dragon tail and yanked him hard. Zhu Lai, who was rushing straight to the sky, was restrained by this force, and the huge dragon body fell down involuntarily. There was a deafening roar from his mouth. He turned his head suddenly, opened the blood gate and bit at Yongkai. Go! Yongkai smiled contemptuously, and shuttled back and forth, not only avoiding Zhu Lai's attack, but also tied his tail with a bow. There was a breakthrough in dragon transformation art, and the original power of Jin Shenglong was stimulated to a greater extent. Yongkai suddenly felt that Zhu Lai was not his opponent at all, and he firmly believed that this feeling was right. It's not that his strength has become stronger, but that the blood of his half-dragon body has become more pure, and has been able to suppress Zhu Lai's blood. Roar! Zhu Lai roared wildly, his voice was full of grief and indignation, as if he had been greatly humiliated. The majestic dragon clan, the leader of all spirits, was actually tied with a bow with his own tail, which is simply unbearable. He shook his head and wanted to get rid of Yongkai's control, but under the suppression of his blood, he could display 70% of his strength at most, so how could he be satisfied? Yongkai held onto Zhu Lai's dragon tail that was tied into a bow, and shouted, the muscles on his arms tensed up, and he turned hard. Wheeze! Wheeze! The 20-foot-long dragon was like a plaything in Yongkai's hands. It was rounded by Yongkai's upper and lower wheels, turning like a windmill. The eyelids of a group of emperors in the Star God Palace and Qingyang Temple below were twitching, and the soles of their feet were a little cramped. At the beginning, the rotation speed was not too fast. Gradually, the rotation speed became more and more fierce, and Zhu Lai's 20-foot body had turned into a full circle, as if it could be divided into countless parts, spreading around Yongkai. There are more than a dozen clones. That's not a clone, it's just an afterimage left behind because it was rotated too fast. Zhu Lai was dizzy from being turned around, and he couldn't condense even a single bit of his body. Feeling the gaze of a group of ants below, an indescribable sense of shame welled up in his heart, making him wish he could pass out immediately. With a snort, Yang Kai let go, and Zhu Lai slammed into the ground like a shell. The ground shook, dust was everywhere, and a huge deep pit appeared on the ground. The 20-foot-long dragon body shook its head vigorously in the deep pit, trying to get up but stumbled as if drunk. Yang Kai descended from the sky, riding on Zhu Lai's head. One hand clasped the dragon horn on his head, and the other hand clenched into a fist and threw it at his forehead. Boom boom boom, as if a sledgehammer hit the heart, every blow of Yang Kai made Wen Zishan and the others shrink. Zhu Lai resisted, but under the double pressure of blood pressure and dizziness, his resistance seemed extremely childish and ridiculous. Now tell me how high the sky is and how thick the ground is. Yang Kai said while beating. Zhu Lai didn't have the time to answer, he just yelled and roared, and when he heard Yang Kai's teasing and sarcasm, he felt a burst of sadness from his heart, his chest was full of blood, and he almost didn't spit it out. After hitting hundreds of punches one after another, Zhu Lai's head was smashed to pieces, and the dragon's scales almost cracked a few pieces. He seemed to be exhausted, crawling on the ground, his big tongue lolling to the side, gasping for breath, in the huge dragon eyes full of angry flames. If there is no suppression of the blood, he will definitely jump up and swallow Yang Kai now. Do you want me to go to Long Island? Yang Kai was still riding on his head, and when he spoke, he slapped him, and his hand hurt. Whether you want to or not, you have to go, the dragon clan will not. Before he finished speaking, Yang Kai got up and stomped on his head, pressing down with great force. Zhu Lai's dragon head hit the ground with a bang, almost biting his own tongue, and quickly shut up. Ask you again, do you still want me to go to Long Island? Yang Kai looked down at him from a high position. How could Zhu Lai care about him after suffering a loss? Think I can't deal with you? Yang Kai grinned grinningly, his eyes searched on him. He had discovered something during the battle before, but he was not sure. Now is the time to check it out. After a short while, Yang Kai's eyes suddenly lit up, and he looked at the dragon scales on Zhu Lai's neck. At first glance, that piece of dragon scale is not much different from other dragon scales, but if you look carefully, you can feel that this piece of dragon scale is different, its color seems to be darker, and its breath is also somewhat different. Yang Kai stretched out his dragon claws and directly grabbed the washbasin-sized dragon scale. What are you doing? Zhu Lai was startled and roared, and after seeing Yang Kai's movements, he struggled with all his strength, and he didn't know where the strength came from, and he wanted to soar into the sky. Yang Kai ignored him, but clasped the dragon scale with both claws, shouted loudly, and pulled it off Zhu Lai's body with all his strength. There was a light stabbing sound, the dragon's blood splashed, and the sound of Zhu Lai's painful howl spread throughout the sky. The body of the giant dragon also shrank rapidly at this moment, and in the blink of an eye, it turned into a young man with red hair. Zhu Lai, who turned into a human form, looked only in his early 20s, with sword eyebrows and star eyes, function as handsome, and he is handsome. With a good skin, no matter where he goes, this kind of appearance will definitely attract the attention of countless women. It was just that he was beaten up by Yang Kai before. Zhu Lai looked rather desolate at the moment, his fiery red hair was messed up, as if he hadn't taken care of it for more than 10 years, his body was covered with bruises, his clothes were messy, and there was a scar on his neck. The tiny wound was bleeding out. After losing that piece of dragon scale, he no longer has the strength to resist the suppression of the original power of the golden holy dragon in Yang Kai's body, and he can't even maintain the dragon body. He jumped up from the ground, rushed towards the dragon scale in Yang Kai's hand like a madman, and shouted, "Give it back to me. This is mine." It's just that at this moment, he is as ridiculous as a child in front of Yang Kai, who is 4 feet tall and half a dragon. Yang Kai stretched out his hand and slapped it, just like slapping a mosquito. Zhu Lai was directly slapped to the ground. Yang Kai stepped on his head, making him unable to move, then carefully observed the dragon scale on his hand. He asked, "Is this why you came to find me?" Zhu Lai gritted his teeth and refused to answer. "Without this support, how are you going to bring me to Long Island?" Yang Kai grinned grinningly, looked down at Zhu Lai, and snorted coldly. "It seems that Zhu Qing's girl has revealed a lot of information about me." He was annoyed for a while. Zhu Lai obviously came prepared this time. If he hadn't made a breakthrough in the dragon transformation art at a critical moment, it would be impossible to say who would win this battle. And the information on his side must have been revealed by that dead girl Zhu Qing, which made Yang Kai feel a little uncomfortable. But after thinking about it, Zhu Qing is from Long Island after all, and it is normal for her to reveal some news when she was rejected several times when she was invited to Long Island. Tell me, how it can offset the suppression of the blood? Yang Kai asked in a deep voice. Before, he thought that this piece of dragon scale did not belong to Zhu Lai. He thought it was the dragon scale of a higher-ranking giant dragon on Dragon Island, but now after careful observation, he realized that he was wrong. It was indeed Zhu Lai's dragon scale, so the color is darker, and the breath is also a little different, probably because of some secret technique applied. Yang Kai is somewhat wary of this secret technique. The two dragons have approached him one after another, and he may have to deal with more dragons in the future. It is impossible for him to make breakthroughs every time. He can rely on the dragon transformation art and the original power of the Golden Holy Dragon. It's also good to be prepared. Kill me. Zhu Lai's neck twitched, and he put on a posture of resigning himself to death, and then sneered, "Do you have the guts to slaughter the dragons?" Yang Kai's face turned cold and said, "I can't bear others to provoke me the most. When I am provoked, I will be a little impulsive. If I am impulsive, I may not be able to do anything, so young people, don't be smart, you are life or death." Between my thoughts. Zhu Lai gritted his teeth and said nothing more. Suddenly Yang Kai squatted down again, looked carefully at Zhu Lai's side face, and frowned. "What is your relationship with Zhu Qing?" "No comment." Zhu Lai snorted coldly. "Don't talk about falling down." Yang Kai curled his lips. He just felt that this guy and Zhu Qing had a little similarity in appearance, and they were both red dragons, so there should be some relationship, so he just asked casually, but since the other party didn't want to answer, he didn't bother to get to the bottom of it. Wen Zishan and Lei Hong flew over side by side, and stopped 10 feet away from Yang Kai, with complicated expressions on their faces. No one thought that things would come to this point. At the beginning, Yang Kai and Zhu Lai fought. They all thought that Yang Kai would suffer a loss. They thought they would deal with it after the dragon clan's anger vented, but who knew that Yang Kai was so brave and mighty? Even a dragon clan was killed. He climbed down dry, and was trampled under his feet. Now it will be difficult. Elder Lei, you came just in time. Yang Kai glanced at Lei Hong, as if seeing a savior. His eyes lit up. Lei Hong's body froze suddenly, and he suddenly felt extremely bad. He suddenly regretted not leaving just now, and came here with Wen Zishan foolishly. Isn't this asking for trouble? Yang Kai Dao. I caught a dragon clan. This guy is too arrogant and domineering. Now I will hand it over to you to bring the Star God Palace to the Emperor to deal with. It is up to the Emperor to kill or scrape. I have no opinion. The corner of Lei Hong's mouth twitched, and he refused to go any further, as if he hadn't heard Yang Kai's words at all. He turned around and clasped his fists at Wen Zishan and said, "Master Wen, this matter is over, then Lei will take his leave first. Wen Zishan needs a lot of attention to the matter of eliminating demons, and I, Star God Palace, will do my best to hunt him down. If there is any news, please let me know as soon as possible." Chapter 2938 Shaping the Flesh. Wen Zishan opened his mouth, and before he had time to say anything, Lei Hong's body was already shaken, and with a crackling sound, a thunderbolt flashed on the spot, and several people wrapped in Xingshan Palace turned into a rainbow and flew away into the distance. "Come back, you surnamed Lei." Zhu Lai suddenly shouted loudly, and his voice spread across the 4 fields. "How dare you Southern Region warriors treat the Dragon Clan like this? I, Dragon Island, will never let it go." Lei Hong ran faster and disappeared in the blink of an eye. He originally wanted to ask Yang Kai what was going on with the dragon transformation secret technique, but now he doesn't have any thoughts. He just wants to stay as far away from the right and wrong as possible. Yang Kai stared at Lei Hong's leaving direction and laughed for a while, but couldn't laugh anymore, turned his head, and saw Gao Shueting, Wen Zishan and others looking at him speechlessly. "What should we do now?" Gao Shueting asked. "I don't know." Yang Kai had an innocent expression on his face, but matching his half-dragon body at the moment, that demeanor looked extraordinarily ferocious. "Why don't you let him go?" Chen Qian suggested in a low voice. She was still very afraid of Long Dao's reputation, and she couldn't bear to see Zhu Lai being beaten so bleakly. Zhu Lai gritted his teeth and said, "That's right, let me go quickly if you know your mind, otherwise you will never end well." Yang Kai stomped his foot again, humming, "Before you speak, understand your situation, kid. I am a dragon, how dare you treat me like this?" Zhu Lai looked humiliated. "What's wrong with the Dragon Clan? Isn't it crawling under my feet?" Zhu Lai blushed, and buried his face in the ground, as if wishing he could find a hole in the ground and never come out to see anyone again. "You can't let it go, you can't kill it. Wen Zishan smiled wryly. Boy, you really gave me a big problem. Such a proud creature of the dragon clan. Being humiliated by Yongkai like this, if he is really let go, how can he let it go? I am afraid that Long Island will be summoned immediately. Soon there will be a large number of dragons killed. Killing is definitely not enough, if you really kill Zhu Lai. Then completely enmity with Longdao, the wrath of Longdao, even the great emperor's sect may not be able to bear it, let alone Qingyang Temple. Yongkai waved his hand and said, forget it, don't worry about this matter, one person is responsible for one person, I can handle it myself. Gao Shueding said, what are you going to do? Yongkai spread his hands and said, if you can't kill or let go, then you can only imprison him. What else can I do? Zhu Lai was shocked when he heard the words, raised his head and shouted angrily, how dare you? Yongkai sneered and said, grow your dog eyes wide to see if I dare or not. While speaking, he stretched out his hand and threw it, and a simple clock appeared in front of him, falling from the sky in a twirling manner, and the small clock also became bigger rapidly. Zhu Lai obviously also sensed the danger. This small clock looks inconspicuous and unpretentious, but it gives him a feeling of impregnability, if he is really trapped by this thing. I'm afraid I can't escape. He struggled hard, but was met with a severe beating from Yongkai, which made him grin his teeth. The clock of mountains and rivers falls. Suppressing Zhu Lai, Yongkai jumped out, and the sound of Zhu Lai's cursing and fierce attack came from the clock. Yongkai just stretched out his hand and made a tactic, and the sound died down. After all, the mountain and river bell is a rare treasure that suppresses all things. The phoenix true fire has been suppressed for tens of thousands of years and cannot escape. This is not a long-term solution. Wen Zishan sighed. Yongkai Dao. How master, you are busy with the devil's thoughts and the great emperor. He will be handed over to me, and he will be kept within a month. It's best if you have confidence. But everything should be done in moderation. After Wen Zishan said, he led the others away. If there were no disturbances that happened before, he must first find a way to solve Zhu Lai's matter. But now for the temple and even the entire southern territory, the most important thing is to track down the whereabouts of those demon thoughts, as well as the Red Dust Emperor. Wu Kuang occupied Duan Hongchen's body, and no one knew what he would do. Tens of thousands of years ago, the Heaven Devourer Great Emperor poisoned the living beings, and countless lives were withered because of him. Compared with him, Long Dao's anger and pursuit are second. In just a few days, the entire southern region was operating in a high-profile manner. With the order of the emperor to slay demons, hundreds of millions of warriors in the southern region were mobilized. Yongkai did not participate in it, he stayed on Lingjian Peak these days. Although Lingjian Peak is a place to seal demons, all the demonic thoughts sealed in it have escaped, and the ruins left behind are not dangerous or special, so Lingjian Peak is still Yongkai's spirit peak. The mountain river clock has been moved to Lingjian Peak by Yongkai, and Zhu Lai's yelling and scolding never stopped for a moment, disturbing people's tranquility. Every day Yongkai has to teach him a lesson. After losing that special dragon scale, Zhu Lai was no longer Yongkai's opponent. In front of Yongkai, who had cast the dragon transformation art, he didn't even have the ability to appear as a giant dragon. The dragon clan is resistant to beatings. No matter how hard Yongkai beats, Zhu Lai will be able to recover the next day. He is also tough, probably knowing that Yongkai would never kill him no matter what, so no matter how miserable he was beaten, he never said a word of softness, and more often he just stared fiercely at him with those unruly eyes. Looking at Yongkai, what kind of posture can you take me? After half a month like this, good news came gradually. Many of the magic thoughts that escaped from the magical land of Lingjian Peak that day have been found. After a battle, most of the magic thoughts were killed, and the southern region also suffered a lot of losses. Gradually understand, there are many ways to restrain the evil thoughts, and will not be easily eroded by them. But whether it is Yongkai, Wen Zishan, or other emperor's senior realms in the southern territory, they all know that these demonic thoughts that have been killed are not all, and the remaining hidden ones are the most troublesome. No one knows who those evil thoughts are hidden in, and no one knows when they will reveal their true colors. There has been no news of Emperor Hongchen and Wu Kuang. Ever since Wu Kuang took Duan Hongchen's body and left the Qingyang Temple that day, it seemed as if the world had evaporated and no one saw him anymore. Just like those evil thoughts that cannot be hidden, he has become a thorn in the flesh of the southern territory and is in danger of festering at any time. According to Gao Shueding, Even Emperor Mingyu himself failed to find any usable clues, and Emperor Mingyu left Xingshan Palace to find Emperor Tianshu because of this matter, hoping to seek help from him. Yang Kai entered the Immortal Travel Mirror again, and spent 3,000 elder contributions for this, and brought out Tianyan's divine soul from it. It's time to fulfill the agreement with Tianyan. Ji Ying has already refined Xingshan Pill. When Yang Kai sent the Nanman army back to Lingxiao Palace last time, he went to Ji Ying's place and brought back all the Emperor Pills he refined during this period of time. Qingyang Temple. Relying on these Emperor Pills, Yang Kai can quickly gather the contributions of the elders who use the Immortal Travel Mirror, otherwise he will not be able to enter the Immortal Ascension world again. It is night, the moon is bright and the stars are sparse. On the high platform of Lingjian Peak, there are many prohibition formations, and Yang Kai even opened the peak protection formation to prevent accidents. Tonight is the day for Tianyan to shape his body. Wen Zishan, who got the news, also came to protect the Dharma, occupying the eye of a formation with a solemn expression. This formation was deployed by the army of the South Gate, and it has the ability to gather the soul and guard the soul. After all, Tianyan is just a soul, without flesh and blood, leaving the immortal world for the first time, and being brought to the star realm by Yang Kai. If there is no place to stay, I am afraid that his soul will soon be scattered. The laws of heaven and earth in Shenyu world are completely different from the laws of heaven and earth in the astral world. Yang Kai's expression was solemn. He calmed down, opened his eyes after a long time, and said slowly, "Senior, the time has come." At 3 o'clock in the middle of the day, it is the time of the day when the yin is the heaviest. As he spoke, he stretched out his hand a little forward. A ray of light bloomed, and then spread out, condensing the appearance of Tianyan. Yang Kai brought Tianyan's soul out of the immortal travel world with the help of the 7-color warming god lotus. If not for such a treasure as the 7-color warming god lotus, Tianyan would not even be able to leave the immortal travel world. The figure is illusory, showing a translucent appearance, like a ghost, blown away by the wind. This is just a spirit body. As soon as you appeared, Tianyan frowned, as if he felt some discomfort, and there was a faint look of pain on his face. The sky and the earth buzzed, and there was a thunderbolt. There seemed to be an extremely strong will and force coming from all directions, ignoring the power of many formations and the power of the Lingjian Peak Protector Formation, and exerting pressure on Tianyan. An existence comparable to a great emperor appeared inexplicably between the heaven and the earth. Tianyan obviously expected this long ago, and with one hand, the mysterious power spread, forming a layer of protection outside the body, resisting the repulsive force between heaven and earth. Suddenly, there was thunder on Lingjian Peak, and electric snakes danced wildly. It was a scene of doomsday, which was extremely frightening. This movement didn't last long, and Tianyan didn't know what kind of wonderful method Tianyan used. The thunder gradually faded away, the lightning also quickly disappeared, and the omnipresent repelling force also dissipated completely. There is not much time, and the way of heaven is not easy to deceive. Tianyan suddenly opened his eyes, looked at Yang Kai and said, "Give me the elixir and protect the law for me." Yang Kai had been waiting for a long time. Hearing this, he flicked his fingers without thinking, and a milky white spirit pill flew straight towards the sky. Tianyan didn't open his mouth, but the panacea fell into his mouth. Milky white light radiated out. Initially it was not obvious, but as time passed, it became more and more dazzling, and the entire Lingjian Peak seemed to be enveloped by that milky white light. Yang Kai's eyes widened, and he used his eyesight to observe carefully. I saw that Xingshan Dan melted in Tianyan's body, turning into countless tiny white lights, melting towards every part of his soul and spirit body. A faint vitality suddenly emerged, like a candle in the wind and rain, which seemed to be in danger of being extinguished. Tianyan sat cross-legged, closed his eyes and concentrated, motionless. To be continued. Chapter 2939 Start from Scratch. The milky white fluorescent light continued to wander in his spirit body, like countless stars in the sky. Every moment, his body solidified a bit, and the vitality coming from that body gradually became stronger. At a certain moment, Tianyan's gradually solidified body suddenly conveyed a strong attraction, and the spiritual energy of the whole world in Lingjian Peak swayed, and all rushed towards his body, and he was swallowed up by him in the blink of an eye. A stronger attraction came out, the wind and clouds roared on Lingjian Peak, and the spiritual energy from a distance quickly flooded in here, but it still couldn't meet Tianyan's needs. At this moment, his body transformed by the spirit pill seemed to be a bottomless pit. No matter how much spiritual energy came, it could be completely swallowed up. Wen Zishan noticed this and immediately took action. He communicated with the sect guarding formation of Qingyang Temple with his mind and spirit, and gathered the aura of the entire Qingyang Temple to Lingjian Peak. And Yang Kai even sacrificed his own elder jade plate, controlling the aura that poured into Lingjian Peak to pour into Tianyan's body. The two division of labor and cooperation, intimate. With the influx of spiritual energy, the vitality in Tianyan's body became more and more vigorous. If there was still a trace of unnaturalness in the vitality just now this trace of unnaturalness is being slowly eliminated, and Tianyan's body is transforming into a real flesh and blood body. The ubiquitous heavenly Tao seemed to have sensed something. Suddenly there was an inexplicable celestial power condensed on Lingjian Peak, although it was extremely weak and hadn't even formed yet. Yang Kai and Wen Zishan were still startled. The power of heaven and earth. Yang Kai clearly sensed a breath of heaven and earth power. The laws of heaven and earth are different in every world, and the only thing that has something in common is the mighty power of heaven and earth. That is the origin of the world, is the power of the whole world. Therefore, Emperor Senior Realm controls the laws of heaven and earth, while the Great Emperor has glimpsed the mighty power of heaven and earth. This is the fundamental difference between the two. The existence of Tianyan was not tolerated by the Star Realm. Before, he used his supernatural powers to hide himself and avoid the way of heaven, but as time passed, this deceitful method gradually revealed its flaws. Let Tiandao perceive his existence. It is true that there is not much time left. If Tianyan cannot shape his body before the power of heaven is revealed, he will definitely be expelled from this world and exiled into the endless void. It may not be able to save him. Yang Kai and Wen Zishan's expressions were solemn, and they quickly drew the spiritual energy of the Qingyang Temple and poured it into Tianyan's body. This is all they can do. The rest depends entirely on Tianyan's own efforts. Time passed slowly, and the surge of spiritual energy in the Qingyang Temple never stopped for a moment. The sound of wind and thunder continued to be heard from Lingjian Peak, and Tianyan's body became more and more solid, and its vitality became more and more vigorous. And the power of heaven condensed on Lingjian Peak is also getting stronger and stronger, like a sharp blade hanging above everyone's heads. It could be cut down at any time. It makes people nervous and restless. At a certain moment, Tianyan suddenly opened his eyes, and pinched a few mysterious spells with his hands quickly and slowly. His just-shaped body seemed to be inclusive of all rivers and rivers, swallowing up the aura of heaven and earth within a radius of tens of miles. The milky white light that had been wandering in his body suddenly disappeared at this time. The sky was still full of bright moon and stars, and the spirit sword peak had returned to calm at some point, and the power of heaven that had been condensed all this time disappeared without a trace for no apparent reason. Yang Kai's eyeballs rolled around, looking at Tianyan for a while. He looked at Wen Zishan, then looked up at the sky, looking a little dazed. "Congratulations, Senior," Wen Zishan said suddenly, cupping his fists and smiling in the direction of Tianyan. Tianyan also smiled and said, "Thanks to your help, I thank you too." Wen Zishan smiled and said, "Wen was just using brute force, Senior was able to shape the physical body, it was because of Yang Kai's discovery of the Shengxian pill." Yang Kai Dao, "Senior, is this a success?" He also heard some tricks from the conversation between these two people. If it didn't work out, Tianyan wouldn't be so relaxed. Tianyan smiled and said, "It's done." "That's really great." Yang Kai was overjoyed. It wasn't until this time that he released his spiritual mind and swept towards Tianyan, and he couldn't help but be dumbfounded after seeing it. Because Tianyan at this moment actually gave him a feeling of extreme weakness, that kind of weakness was not the kind of weakness that was exhausted, but a natural weakness, or it could be called weakness. Yang Kai didn't feel any power fluctuations from his body. Tianyan was like an ordinary person who had never practiced. "Senior, this is..." Yang Kai looked at him in astonishment. Tianyan smiled slightly. "The way of heaven is not easy to deceive. Even if you can hide it for a while, you can't hide it for a lifetime. I can only follow the way of heaven." At this moment, the old man should be equivalent to a newborn baby. Yang Kai opened his mouth wide. This situation is a bit different from what he expected. He originally thought that Tianyan would still be a strong man at the emperor level after shaping his physical body, but who knew that the final result would be like this? But think about it, how can there be such a good thing in this world? Tianyan is indeed at the level of a great emperor in the world of zhenwu, but that is only for the power of the soul. His body is shaped by the life pill. Even if he swallowed countless heaven and earth, it is also impossible for spiritual energy to reach the level of a great emperor overnight. Thinking of this, Yang Kai felt relieved. feeling that his previous considerations were too immature. Wen Zishan said, "With the background of the senior, even if you practice from scratch, I am afraid it will not take long to regain the peak." "I hope." Tian Yan chuckled, "but before that, the old man needs to stay in the temple for a while." Wen Zishan laughed and said, "Senior, I don't think my temple is simple, so I can live as long as I want. Do you need me to arrange a spiritual peak for senior?" "No need, it's good here. I think Yang is a busy person. This place is remote and clean, which is suitable for me to recuperate. And, this is the place where the old man was conceived. Practicing here is like a baby in the mother's womb. In the middle, it may be a little uncomfortable to change to other places. €1. Since that's the case, then I will obey the senior. I will send some training materials over tomorrow. If the senior needs anything, just let me know. Then send some classics, whatever it is, the more the better." "Okay, then Wen will take his leave first." Wen Zishan clasped his fist slightly, and then glanced at Yang Kai, which was fleeting. Tian Yan turned his head to look at Yang Kai, smiled and said, "You seem to be a little disappointed." Yang Kai chuckled. "It's not disappointing, it's just a little different from what I thought before. Hey, slow down, I'll support you." While speaking, he walked up and put the person who was about to stand up. Tian Yan supported him. Tian Yan was obviously not used to his physical body, he staggered a few times when he just stood up, thanks to Yang Kai being beside him, otherwise he might still fall down. As he said, at this moment he is like a newborn baby, and everything has to be learned from scratch. There is a palace on Lingjian Peak. Although it is not big, it is enough for 2 people to live. Yang Kai and Tian Yan chatted while walking into the palace. After walking a few steps, Tian Yan suddenly stopped. Yang Kai didn't know what he was doing. When he turned his head to look, he saw Tian Yan's expression was dull, his eyes were dull, as if he had lost consciousness. Yang Kai was startled, thinking that something was wrong. When he was about to investigate, Tian Yan's eyeballs moved again, and his consciousness returned to his body at this moment. The fusion of body and soul is not too successful, just now the soul was separated from the body. Tian Yan explained, shaking his head a little annoyed, walking more and more carefully. "It won't be like this forever?" Yang Kai asked worriedly. "Of course not, it will be fine in a few days, but I'm afraid it's a bit sad these days." For a certain distance, there were 3 pauses in the middle. Each time Tianyan's soul accidentally left his body, Yang Kai finally placed him in the wing room, and felt that what Tianyan said was right. He is now a newborn baby. On the second day, Wen Zishan sent people to send a large number of jade slips. The content recorded in the jade slips was varied, and all of them were sent to Tianyan's room. Tianyan hadn't come out since yesterday's retreat, and Yang Kai didn't go either. To disturb him, he just flew to the peak platform of Lingjian Peak. With one hand, the bell of mountains and rivers flew up. When a dragon chant roared, Zhu Lai, who was suppressed in it, suddenly turned into a 20-foot-long dragon, opened his bloody mouth and bit Yang Kai. Dragon transformation. Yang Kai stared at him contemptuously, urging the original power of the Golden Saint Dragon in his body to display the dragon transformation art. The figure suddenly rose, and there was a burst of crackling sound like frying beans from top to bottom. Short horns grew on his forehead, and his whole body was covered with scales. The giant dragon that had just jumped in front of him couldn't help but let out a muffled snort. Its 20-foot-long body collapsed like a bubble. Zhu Lai appeared in a human form in embarrassment. He just flew in front of Yang Kai, and met Yang Kai an iron fist. It looked as if he took the initiative to meet it and get beaten. With a bang, Zhu Lai was sent flying, hit the side of a mountain not far away, and fell into the ground for more than a few feet. He was dizzy for a while, and when his vision became clear, he looked up, only to find that Yang Kai was already standing in front of him, and the 40-foot-high half-dragon body transmitted a strong suppressive force, which made him feel uncomfortable. "It seems that you still haven't improved your memory." Yang Kai grinned, stretched out a dragon claw, and lifted Zhu Lai out from the crack of the stone like a chicken, but Zhu Lai struggled hard but it was ineffective. This kind of scene has happened countless times in the past half a month. Every time Yang Kai opened the mountain and river clock, Zhu Lai would attack fiercely, but without that special dragon scale, he couldn't resist Yang Kai's display. After the suppression of dragon transformation art, even though his true strength was 2 levels higher than Yang Kai's, he was beaten so helplessly. Almost every time it ended with Zhu Lai being beaten severely. To be continued. Chapter 2940 Probably Dead. The sound of bang 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 was endless, and in midair, Zhu Lai was beaten by Yang Kai like a sandbag, and the dragon's blood was splashed, and he was in a panic. But no matter how badly he was beaten, Zhu Lai never had the thought of giving in or begging for mercy. On the contrary, the harder Yang Kai beat him, the colder his eyes became. It was as if Yang Kai didn't beat him to death, he would definitely repay his pain 100-fold. The arrogance of the dragon clan can be seen. Even if Yang Kai turned into a half-dragon body 4 feet tall, he is no different from an ant in Zhu Lai's eyes. There was another loud bang. Zhu Lai was knocked down from the air, and fell heavily on the ground, and before he bounced up, Yang Kai had already stepped on his face. Are you convinced? Yang Kai looked down at him. Say a word, I will let you go now. Not convinced. Zhu Lai gritted his teeth and drank in a low voice, relying on blood to suppress is nothing. If we have the guts, we will fight in human form. Yang Kai chuckled and said, what kind of bullshit theory is this? Aren't you dragon clans all judging the pros and cons of each other based on bloodline? You are not a dragon. Zhu Lai sneered. That's not right. In human form, you have the level of Emperor Senior's 3rd layer mirror, and I am only at Emperor Senior's 1st level. If I fight in human form, I will suffer a lot. Yang Kai kept shaking his head. To deal with rubbish like you, use the cultivation base of the 3-layer mirror of Emperor Senior. This dragon suppresses the cultivation base at the 1st level. Zhu Lai had a disdainful expression on his face. Oh, Yang Kai raised his brows. It seems that you are very confident. The ugly words come first. What if you can't beat me? Can't beat you? That's impossible. Zhu Lai wanted to shake his head, but Yang Kai's big foot stomped on his head, and he couldn't even shake his head. He just sneered contemptuously. The premise of the same level next. No one is an opponent of the dragon clan. That's not sure. Yang Kai sneered. Let's do it. As you said, we all fight in human form, which is no better than blood suppression. But if you want to suppress the cultivation base at the 1st level, if you lose, that's it. The previous things will be written off. Then what if you lose? Do whatever you want. Is this true? Zhu Lai's eyes lit up. Really? Okay, if you lose, I want you to go back to Long Island with me, and I want you to kowtow to me 3 times. This is a great shame to your human race, right? Yang Kai laughed loudly. Don't say 3, 30 or 300 is up to you. While speaking, Yang Kai retreated a few steps and let go of the subdued Zhu Lai. Zhu Lai jumped up. Anger surged on his face, and he looked as if he was ready to rush over to take revenge at any time, but he firmly restrained the impulse in his heart, and just said with a cold face, if you are a man, don't let people underestimate you. I hope you can abide by it. Own promise. Yang Kai snorted softly. Then you have to win first and then I will talk. When the words fell, he took the initiative to disperse the dragon transformation art, and his 4-foot-high body shrank rapidly and regained his original appearance. At this moment, Zhu Lai rushed over with one step, and first spewed out a mouthful of dragon flames. Although he didn't turn into a giant dragon, most of the dragon's mysteries couldn't be used, but there was no problem with spraying a few mouthfuls of dragon flames. He did abide by the agreement between himself and Yang Kai. His cultivation was suppressed to the level of Emperor Senior, so the power of this mouthful of dragon flames was smaller than the power sprayed out by his previous incarnation of a giant dragon. That's the case, this kind of dragon flame is not something that anyone can resist, and it contains extremely scorching power. After Long Yan, he punched Yang Kai, his expression excited, as if he had seen the scene of Yang Kai being ravaged by himself. He doesn't pay attention to a mere Emperor Senior level 1. The reason why he was ravaged by Yang Kai these days is entirely because his blood was suppressed. After Yang Kai used the dragon transformation art, Zhu Lai couldn't even display 70% of his strength, so how could he be his opponent? But things are different now. Everyone is in human form, there is no suppression of blood. He decided to beat Yang Kai hard to vent his anger, and then bring him back to Long Island and hand him over to the Great Elder. The fist came first, hitting Long Yan directly, and some unexpected changes happened miraculously. Zhu Lai's fist seemed to be on fire. Not only did it not reduce the power of Long Yan, but on the contrary, it assisted the two sides, and the power increased dramatically. Stab! A sound, a flash of sword light flashed, and a wide long sword slashed at Zhu Lai's fist, and there was an ear-piercing sound of metal and iron clashing. It was so faint that it seemed that it might go out at any moment. What? Zhu Lai was taken aback, his face changed slightly. He has been under the ravages of Yongkai these days, so he has a little understanding of the strength of this human being, knowing that he is much stronger than the General Emperor Senior one layer. He didn't expect his attack to do anything to the opponent, it was just a test. But I didn't expect the other party to follow up easily. Looking up, Zhu Lai's face changed again. Because he found that Yongkai didn't show any effort at all, and there was a faint smile on his face, as if he was mocking and mocking. Zhu Lai was furious, and shouted, pretending to be. Another fist slammed forward, with the force of a thunderbolt. Looking at that posture, it might smash Yongkai's face to pieces. Yongkai turned the million sword and slapped it lightly in front, hitting Zhu Lai's second fist. Pei Ran Mo Yu's power suddenly struck. Zhu Lai actually felt the pain. This sudden change really made him feel a little unbelievable. He is a dragon, with a solid body, and any place can be compared to the existence of Dabao. The casual blow of the human on the opposite side made him feel pain. How much strength is needed to do this? Is he a dragon or is he a dragon? Just at this moment of hesitation, Yongkai had chopped off the million sword with a cold expression. A trace of coolness spread from the top of his head, and Zhu Lai hurriedly backed away as his face changed wildly. There was a chi-chi friction sound, and the $1,000,000 sword cut through Zhu Lai's body. Sparks flew everywhere. After Zhu Lai withdrew from Beizong, he looked down and saw a long white mark on his body from his abdomen to his crotch, which was extremely dazzling. You should be lucky that you are a dragon, otherwise you would have died. Yongkai's voice came from the front like a ghost. Zhu Lai raised his head, and saw him appearing 5 feet away from him at some time. With that wide long sword it had already disappeared, clapped and pulled his hands, and a crescent-like jet black attack with a length of 1 zhong leisurely formed, directly slashing towards him. Zhu Lai wanted to move, but found that the space around him became extremely viscous, which gave him the illusion of falling into the mud, and there was no way to avoid such an attack no matter what. He let out a low growl, his breath soared, and dragon scales appeared on the surface of his body, ready to take it hard with his body. The pitch-black moon blade pierced through the sky, making Zhu Lai feel palpitations. He didn't know whether he could resist such an attack with his own ability. The attack contained a very clear fluctuation of the law of space, which was completely condensed by the power of the void. Wherever it passed, even the space was swallowed up. If such an attack were to strike at him, he would probably devour a part of himself. For the first time in his life, Zhu Lai felt powerless. Even when he was suppressed by Yongkai's dragon transformation art before, he didn't feel this way. Just when Zhu Lai was about to tear apart, the moon blade had already struck close, and shattered with a bang, only an inch away from him. A kind of heart palpitation enveloped his heart, cold sweat slipped from his forehead. Zhu Lai looked up at Yongkai with a livid face, only to see the other party looking at him with a smile. You lost. Zhu Lai remained silent. He did lose, not because of that moonblade-like attack, but because of himself. In the moment before the crisis, he raised his strength to the Emperor Senior 3-layer mirror, and showed some characteristics of the Dragon Clan, which has broken the previous agreement between him and Yongkai. He didn't even figure out the true level of Yongkai, who didn't use the dragon transformation art, so he lost in such a muddled manner. An indescribable sense of shame and frustration swept over his heart, making him look extremely depressed. His lips opened and closed a few times, but he was unable to utter a single word. Only the Dragon Clan has always looked down on other creatures, but Zhu Lai didn't realize until now that there were other people above the Dragon Clan at some point. You don't want to go back on your word, do you? Yongkai squinted at Zhu Lai. We agreed before, if you lose, our grievances will be written off, and the Dragon Clan can't afford to lose. These words stimulated Zhu Lai, and his haughty nature made him respond. Who says I can't afford to lose? If I lose, I lose. As you said, the grievances between you and me are wiped out. Yongkai immediately showed a smile. That's good, that's good. Well, since this is the case, then you can go back and forth from wherever you are. By the way, tell me about Long Island. I will go there if I have time. Don't a Euro-T send people here every now and then? A Euro. Zhu Lai said with a deep face. I will pass on your words to Long Island. I don't know what decision the island will make. Yongkai nodded and said, it's okay, tell Zhu Qing too, you should be able to contact each other, right? Tell her not to look for me again, it's very dangerous. Every time he stays with Zhu Qing, Yongkai can't control the throbbing in his blood. The desire that has been hidden deep in his heart seems to erupt at any time, which makes him feel very bad and dangerous. Yang Kai knew that this was dragon nature, and with the in-depth cultivation of his dragon transformation art, this dragon nature would become stronger and stronger, and one day he would not be able to suppress that desire. So he felt that the farther away Zhu Qing was from him, the better, preferably the one who would never get in touch with each other. Zhu Qing is probably dead, I can't convey your words. Zhu Lai shook his head slowly. The smile on Yang Kai's face slowly subsided. What do you mean by that? To be continued. Chapter 2941 Brother and Sister. Thanks to the leader Zhuang Sheng. I just saw it. Thanks to the leader Zhuang Sheng Xiaomeng me butterfly A for another reward of 100,000 coins, and being promoted to the First Alliance of Martial Arts. I bow and thank you. I also want to thank all book friends for their support for such a long time. Every time you subscribe, every time a reward and recommendation is the driving force for Xiaomo to move forward. Thank you, rain or shine, we will accompany you all the way. A euro 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 a euro. Zhu Lai snorted coldly. It probably means that you are not sure, are you stupid? Yang Kai opened his mouth, but he was speechless, and his mood suddenly became terrible. Zhu Lai looked at him, chuckled and said, you care about her very much, do you want to know her news? Yang Kai sneered and said, I'm not familiar with her, why do I care about her? Whether she is dead or alive has nothing to do with me, that is your Long Island's business, don't talk nonsense here. Zhu Lai said, the last time she contacted Long Island was 2 months ago. It was precisely because I was sure that she was in danger and was very likely to perish there, so I came out from Long Island to find you. Why are you looking for me? Yang Kai asked calmly. Zhu Lai said, her mission has not been completed, so naturally someone needs to complete it for her. Shaking his head, he sighed, it just seems that I can't bring you back to Dragon Island, but remember, Dragon Island is not I will let it go, and you will not be so lucky next time. Yang Kai snorted coldly. Go back and tell the Dragon Clan, if anyone comes to disturb this young master, I will kill one if they come, and I will kill 1 pair if 2 come, I just don't know how many Dragon Clans you have on Dragon Island to kill. Zhu Lai's complexion sank, he gritted his teeth and drank in a low voice, big words are shameless. It's good to leave. Yang Kai flicked his sleeves. Turn around and enter Lingjian Peak. Zhu Lai stood there and stared coldly for a long time. Only then did his figure flicker, turning into a streamer and flying away. No one intercepted them, and now the whole temple is busy with exorcism orders and looking for Wu Kuang. Most of the strong people in the sect have already dispatched, so it is naturally impossible for anyone to intercept a dragon. Zhu Lai was very fast, and flew away from the Qingyang temple in a short while, and had just left the Qingyang mountain range. Zhu Lai suddenly paused, and stared coldly at a figure in front of him, which was obviously Yang Kai. Zhu Lai didn't know when he ran in front of him. He was standing there with his hands behind his back at this moment. He was upset and shouted angrily, what else do you want to do? Do you want to go back on your word? Ben Long is not even going to trouble you now, if you dare to speak without believing. Don't be nervous. Yang Kai interrupted him with a sneer on his face, I just want to ask, how are you Long Island going to deal with Zhu Qing's matter? Zhu Qing is dead, what else can I do? Zhu Lai frowned. Yang Kai Dao, didn't you just say maybe, not sure? How can you be sure that she is dead? Zhu Lai said, even if she doesn't die, she won't live long. She went to the frozen ground. You should know the danger of that place. Of course I know, if it's not dangerous, it's impossible for a dragon clan to fall there. I just want to ask, aren't you Dragon Island planning to save her? Zhu Lai sneered and said, she is an 8th rank red dragon, and even she is trapped there. There are not many dragons on the island who can guarantee that they will escape unscathed. Island doesn't do this kind of thing. Yang Kai shouted, even if she is dead, you should go and collect her body, it is your clansman. Zhu Lai sneered continuously, she doesn't know the heights of the sky and the depths of the permafrost, why should others take risks with her? She will die as soon as she dies, and no one will save her. Is this your meaning or Long Island's meaning? Yang Kai's face was gloomy. It's what I mean, it's also what Long Island means. Zhu Lai tilted his head, not looking into Yang Kai's eyes. Yang Kai was silent for a while, before gently saying, I really want to beat you up. Zhu Lai sneered and said, didn't you beat me enough these days? The shame you gave me will be repaid 100-fold in the future. I'll talk about it after you beat me. Yang Kai glanced at him contemptuously, turned around and flew back towards Qingyang Temple. He was extremely fast, and within a few breaths he had already returned to Lingjian Peak, and came straight to the back mountain. Although Lingjian Peak experienced the breaking of the ban on magic thoughts, the back mountain did not suffer much damage, so the cross-domain space magic circle he had arranged here was still intact. It wasn't until he stood in front of the space law formation that Yang Kai suddenly came back to his senses. Just now, his mind was full of other things, and he didn't notice his movements at all. When he reacted, he was already here. Follow your heart, Yang Kai muttered softly, but said helplessly, it's really troublesome. Having said that, the hesitation on his face disappeared without a trace, replaced by a firm look. A piercing sound quickly approached from far to near, and Yang Kai turned his head to look, only to see a fiery red light flying towards him. As if he had sensed where Yang Kai was, it came directly to the back mountain and landed not far from him. What for? Yang Kai looked at Zhu Lai, who had gone and returned angrily, as if he wanted to fight him. Zhu Lai asked, do you want to go to the frozen soil? Go find Zhu Qing. It's none of your business. Yang Kai sneered. Zhu Lai's face was a little uncomfortable. He turned his head and said, if you go, count me in. Oh, Yang Kai frowned, looked at Zhu Lai with great interest, and said lightly, give me a reason, don't say that your conscience has discovered it, I will not believe such a naive reason. Zhu Lai touched his nose and said, Zhu Qing is my sister. Yang Kai was slightly startled, but soon relieved. Before, he vaguely felt that there was some blood relationship between Zhu Lai and Zhu Qing, because the two had some similarities in appearance, but he didn't get to the bottom of it after asking once but failed to get an answer. Only now did I know that my previous guess was correct, the two red dragons were actually siblings. Is this reason enough? Zhu Lai looked at Yang Kai seriously. Enough, enough. Yang Kai nodded, stepped onto the space magic circle, and greeted, come on. Zhu Lai frowned. Although he didn't know what he was going to do, he didn't feel Yang Kai's malice. Don't resist. At the same time Yang Kai shouted, the law of space was ups and downs, and the void seemed to collapse at this moment. If Yang Kai hadn't reminded him before, Zhu Lai would definitely resist one or two, and he might end up in exile. In the endless void, Guanwu flashed, and the two disappeared together. At the same time, Lingxiao Palace in the Northern Territory. At the Space Law Circle, Yang Kai and Zhu Lai appeared at the same time, and the two disciples who had been guarding the side saw the coming person, and hurried forward to salute. I have seen the Palace Master. Yang Kai nodded, took out the communication compass, poured information into it, and then stood there waiting. Zhu Lai had recovered from the aftereffects of cross-domain transmission, turned his head to look around, frowned and said, what is this place? Yang Kai replied without answering, Northern Territory, Lingxiao Palace. Zhu Lai was stunned for a moment, then turned his head to look at the space magic circle, and said in a daze, Zhu Qing said that you have a cross-domain space magic circle, so it is true. Yang Kai was furious. Why does that dead woman report everything to Long Island? Do I have no secrets at Long Island? Zhu Lai said with a sullen face. Pay attention to your words, human, that's my sister. Yang Kai sneered. Sister? I don't see you taking the initiative to save your sister. If I had a younger brother like you, I would have strangled him to death long ago. What's the use of it? What do you know? I didn't know that Yang Kai's words poked Zhu Lai's sensitive nerves, making him very angry for a moment, and gritted his teeth. You think I don't want to save her, you think I am willing to watch her die in the there. Then why don't you go? What moves in your heart and what you do in your body, our generation of warriors should follow our heart, go forward bravely, and forge ahead, and we are afraid of being indecisive. If it is really your sister, you shouldn't go to Qingyang Temple to find her. Instead, I should go to the frozen soil to find her. Even if I die, I will die with her. Now that time is wasted, maybe her only life is cut off by you. Zhu Lai opened and closed his lips, looking extremely angry, his eyes were about to spit fire. But for some unknown reason, he suddenly died down again, became slumped, and sighed. What moves in your heart, what you do in your body, is that why you are going to save her? Yang Kai curled his lips and said, what else? I haven't known her well enough to risk my life to save her, I wish she would die soon. Since I have the idea of a euro saving her, if you don't take action, I'm afraid this idea will always linger in your heart and become a demon in the future. Zhu Lai said, no matter what, I thank you on behalf of Zhu Qing. You don't need to thank me, just don't bother me in the future. Yang Kai snorted coldly. A beautiful figure flew in front of him and landed in front of him. It was Watching Si, the chief steward of Lingxiao Palace, clasped his fists and said, "Palace Master, you are back." While speaking, he glanced curiously at Zhu Lai who was standing beside Yang Kai, but also didn't ask much. Naturally, Zhu Lai didn't bother to say anything. The Dragon Clan was an arrogance. If he hadn't suffered so much from Yang Kai before, he wouldn't look at Yang Kai differently at this moment. "I'm leaving now." Yang Kai had a furious expression on his face. "Where are you going?" Watching Si asked. "I have to go to Lilong Palace. Are we connected to the space magic circle on the other side of Lilong Palace?" Watching Si replied. "I had this proposal before, but Li Jiao was not willing, so I didn't force it." "Of course he doesn't want to." Yang Kai smiled. Although Lilong Palace and Tianzong are the top sects of the Northern Territory, they have suffered a lot from Yang Kai's hands and Lingxiao Palace a huge sum of money. The debt has been repaid for decades, and who wants to connect to the space magic circle with the creditor? Isn't this convenient for people to come to collect debts? Forget it, I'll just fly over there, just show me the direction. Watching Si quickly pointed to a direction and said, "Lilong Palace is here, and at the speed of the Palace Master, it will take about 3 days to arrive. How about I accompany the Palace Master? I have been to Lilong Palace once." "No need." Yang Kai waved his hand, and changed to sound transmission. "How is the matter of Qianwan Dreamland handled?" Watching Si looked straight and said, "It's all been dealt with. Qiyu and the others have entered it once, and they have gained a lot from it, but the scale of Thousand Fantasy Dreamland is too large. I'm afraid it will take some time to find out a rule. I'm going to the next batch will be selected from among the disciples of Chenyi sect." To be continued. Chapter 2942 Life is Hard. More than half a month ago, when the Nanman army returned to Lingxiao Palace from Qingyang Temple, Yang Kai handed Qianwan Mendi back to him. Yang Kai attached great importance to Qianwan Mendi, because he himself benefited a lot from the dream. The Thousand Fantasy Dreamland will definitely become the foundation of the Lingxiao Palace. Compared with it, the Tianyan Palace, which is arranged with the Tianyan treasure box as the center, has a much smaller role. However, the Dreamland of Thousand Illusions is not static. Every martial artist who enters it may encounter different illusions. The illusion is enough to confuse the real, but it is born out of reality. It is difficult to distinguish the real from the fake, but the benefits obtained in the illusion, but it can make people get a lot of improvement. In particular, the Thousand Fantasy Dreamland has the magical effect of stretching time, which is extremely precious. Kai Yu and the others are Yang Kai's friends and relatives, so Watching Si chose them as the first batch of candidates to enter the Thousand Illusions Dreamland. Facts have proved that each of them has gained something in the Thousand Illusions Dreamland. Thousand Illusions Dreamland is a huge treasure. It is impossible to mine it all at once, you can only dig it out step by step. After chatting with Watching Si for a while, Yang Kai set off with Zhu Lai. The speed of Lu Yunshuo was extremely fast. One person and one dragon stayed in the shuttle and broke through the air. Zhu Lai was puzzled by Yang Kai's behavior. "Zhu Qing is trapped in the permafrost, why did you go to Lilong Palace?" Yang Kai glanced at him while manipulating Lu Yunsuo, and asked, "Have you ever been to the frozen soil?" Zhu Lai shook his head. "Since I was born, I have rarely left Dragon Island. Dragons are not allowed to show their faces outside from time to time. I have only heard about the name of Frozen Land. I have never been there." "I haven't been there either." Yang Kai chuckled lightly. He asked again, "Then do you know where to find your sister?" Zhu Lai continued to shake his head. "I don't know. I tried to contact her these days, but I still didn't get a response. She's afraid it's true." Yang Kai Dao. "In life, you must see people, and in death, you must see corpses. Don't jump to conclusions before seeing her." Having said that, but. Yang Kai glanced at him fiercely, "Neither you nor I have been to the frozen land, let alone where to find your sister. But there is one person who can help." Zhu Lai thought for a while and said, "Is that person in Lilong Palace?" "It's pretty smart." Yang Kai grinned, "If you want to do a good job, you must first sharpen your weapon. Although it will take some time for us to go to Lilong Palace to find that person, it's better than diving into the frozen ground blindly looking for it." "Good." After a pause, Yang Kai said, "But that person's status is a bit unusual, and I may have to rely on your strength at that time." Zhu Lai sneered and said, "You can't beat him." Yang Kai shook his head. "This is not a question of who is strong and who is weak, but a question of courage. I want that person to accompany me to the frozen soil. He must not be happy. If I use force, I'm afraid I will tear myself apart with him. It won't help you find your sister, but if you can come forward, maybe things will be handled well. Oh, Zhu Lai was curious. He didn't know who would be like Yang Kai said, but he didn't ask too much. Anyway, he would know when he met. From Dragon Palace. It has been established for tens of thousands of years. In the Northern Territory, it was once known as the Four Top Sects together with Bingxin Valley, Wenqing Sect and Mitianzong, because among these four sects, each sect has a strong man with the three-layer mirror of Emperor Zun. Li Jiao, the Lord of Lilong Palace, is a half-demon powerhouse with a trace of dragon blood. In its heyday, Lilong Palace once overwhelmed the other three major sects, and its popularity was as strong as ever. But since the birth of a Lingxiao Palace in the Northern Territory, life in Lilonggang was not easy. No one knew exactly how their own palace lord defended Lingxiao Palace. Since last year, 80% of the sect's income has to be turned over to Lingxiao Palace every year, and he can only keep a mere 20%. Li Longgang's family has a big business, with tens of thousands of sect disciples, and 20% of the income is only 10 million high-grade source crystals. How can such a quantity be consumed? From Li Jiao to ordinary disciples in the palace, all kinds of welfare benefits fell from the sky to the ground at once, and everyone tightened their belts to live. Because of this matter, many elders in Lilong Palace were extremely dissatisfied with Lingxiao Palace, and from time to time they whispered in Li Jiao's ear, hoping that he would take him and others to Lingxiao Palace to avenge his shame and revenge. How could Li Jiao have the courage? The elders and disciples below didn't know the background of Lingxiao Palace, but he knew it all too well. The last time I just went to join in the fun with Ji Ying, but I almost lost my family business. Now when I hear the word Lingxiaogong, my heart beats, so I dare not visit. Fortunately, it is not only his Lilonggang family who are unlucky. Mitianzong's situation is also similar. The two top sects can be regarded as brothers and sisters, they can only hug each other to keep warm. On this day, above the main hall of Lilong Palace, many elders gathered together. Just like in the past, there was a lot of noise in the hall, and many emperors did not have the corresponding cultivation and calm mind. This situation was not common in the past, but since last year, it has happened frequently, and many elders can't earn more than 2 words of benefits. The annual income of Lilong Palace is about 50 million high-grade source crystals. Such a large amount of income, if there are no special circumstances, the entire sect will definitely not be able to spend it all. It can meet the needs of every elder, and there is still a surplus. Expand the Zongmen inventory to prepare for future contingencies. But since last year, the number of 50 million has dropped to 10 million, and the problem has been exposed. Every elder wants to fight for more benefits for the Lingfeng Hall under his control. Alchemy needs source crystals, and weapon refining needs source crystals. Jing, cultivation requires source crystals. Who would be at a disadvantage? But there are only 10 million source crystals in total, and it will last for a year, and the distribution to the lower levels will become increasingly rare. If there is still a surplus in the warehouse, it is okay to say. The big deal is to open the Zongmen warehouse and transfer source crystals from it to alleviate the crisis, but the problem is that the warehouse in Lilong Palace is basically empty, and the accumulation of the Zongmen over the years has long been given to that the Lingxiao Palace repays the debt, and there will be no improvement in the next 50 years. Under these circumstances, the elders gathered in the hall naturally became more and more unwilling to give in half a step. All of them blushed arguably, and wanted to fight for the greatest benefit for their own side. Li Jiaojuan sat on the first seat, listening to the commotion below with a gloomy expression, without saying a word, nor did he intend to stop it. Now he only hates himself why he went to the Lingxiao Palace with Ji Ying, and went there, and even bet with Yang Kai. Bewildered, Li Jiao sighed, and slowly closed his eyes. At some point, the noise below stopped, and an old man with white hair and beard clasped his fists and said, "Palace Master, disciples cannot practice without pills. The operation of my pill room is the top priority of the entire sect. Please suzerain set aside 3 million high-grade source crystals as the alchemy expenses for the alchemy room this year." 3 million? Elder Shu, you are too arrogant, right? There are only 10 million source crystals available in the palace every year, and you want 3 million in one mouthful. What do you want us to do? Do you want to drink the northwest wind? Yeah. 3 million is too much. I think 500,000 is enough. You can practice without pills, but the speed is slower. You can survive these 50 years. 50 years? After 50 years, the younger generation has long been useless. Without enough pills to support them, how can their potential be unearthed? There will definitely be a huge gap in the younger generation of my Lilong Palace. When the time comes, the sect will weaken. Who can take up this responsibility? Brother Shu, don't take your words so seriously. It's only 50 years. Which one of you and I have not practiced for thousands of years? When you were young, you had plenty of pills to take. Didn't you also cultivate to the emperor level? That's why the old man is only at the first level. If he had enough pills when he was young, the old man will definitely not exceed this level. After a short period of calm, there was another round of quarrels. Li Jiao finally couldn't bear it anymore, and slapped down angrily, and the chair he was sitting on immediately became dust. The noisy hall suddenly fell silent, and a pair of eyes focused on Li Jiao. The palace lord was angry, and they didn't dare to be presumptuous anymore. Enough. Li Jiao swept his eyes down, gritted his teeth and said, I hear you guys making noise here every day, but you still can't come up with a solution. You are all my elders from the Dragon Palace. They are all in the Emperor state, so noisy, if let the lowly disciples look at it, there will be no majesty. Everyone was embarrassed by the training, and they all lowered their heads. Elder Shu of the alchemy room pondered for a moment and said, Palace Master, Yuanjing needs to be resolved as soon as possible, otherwise. I don't know. Li Jiao glared at him angrily, I was negligent that day and fell into the trap of a thief, which made me tired of the Dragon Palace. Elder Shu said, Palace Master, don't have to blame yourself too much. The suzerain master didn't see any flaws in what happened that day, so I can only blame that kid in Lingxiao Palace for being too cunning. As long as the Palace Master is still alive, I will definitely have a comeback day. €1. A group of elders nodded in agreement. Li Jiao said, in short, the matter is already like this. I have a proposal, and I hope that many elders can cooperate as much as possible. If I can implement it, I will definitely be able to overcome this difficulty. Elder Shu said, I don't know what trick the Palace Master has. Li Jiao looked around, coughed lightly and said, everyone is in the Emperor Prestige realm, and it's not been a year or two since I served as the Elder of Lilong Palace. I must have some savings on hand. What I mean is, everyone first take out your savings for public use, even if it is borrowed from you in the palace. After 50 years, you will be returned to you with the principal and interest, and you will not be at a disadvantage. What do you think? No one responded, and wherever Li Jiao's gaze passed, everyone lowered their heads. Li Jiao snorted coldly, don't you have any savings? Could it be that everyone in Lilong Palace is poor? To be continued. Chapter 2943 Complain. It's not that I don't have savings, it's just that compared with the gap in the sect, it's a drop in the bucket, Palace Master. Elder Shu looked at Li Jiao timidly, with an embarrassed look on his face. That's right, Palace Master, even if we old fellows take out all our wealth, we won't be able to last long. How long can you last? Li Jiao persuaded earnestly, it's enough to get through this difficult time. When the sect is more prosperous, you will definitely not be missing. After Li Jiao said that, all the elders are embarrassed to continue to decline. After all, what Li Jiao said is true. Everyone has been promoted to Emperor Senior stage for so long, and they have some savings on hand. If these assets can be used, it can indeed alleviate the sect crisis. Everyone looked at me, I looked at you, and it was Elder Shu who was the first to say, the suzerain is right. If this is the case, then I will set an example. I will contribute 5 million. When everyone heard this, their eyes lit up, and Li Jiao looked at him with burning eyes. Elder Shu sneered, middle-grade source crystal. This is almost all of the old man's possessions. Li Jiao's face suddenly turned dark. 5 million middle-grade source crystals, when converted to only 50,000 top-grade source crystals, what can this amount to? Moreover, it is impossible for an emperor elder who has been in charge of alchemy for hundreds of years to only have this little wealth. That's not right, Elder Shu. A black-faced man jumped out and shouted, I see that you entertained guests a few days ago, and a pot of wanwa brewing was worth 30,000 high-grade source crystals, which flowed from the Medicine Pill Valley. If you only have this wealth, how can you afford it? His old background was exposed in person. Elder Shu's face turned red. He argued. Then, the old man didn't buy it, it was brought by my friend, and I specially invited the old man to taste it together, so why did I buy it? The old man's offerings to the elders are only so small every year. My own cultivation is so-so, how can there be so many source crystals to buy wanwa brew, don't you want to swear? The black-faced man snorted coldly and said, Elder Shu has no source crystals. Who would believe that? Elder Shu, you control the entire alchemy room of Lilong Palace. Every year, countless source crystals are lost from the palace master. Among other things, Lita Euros say that there were 6 million high-grade source crystals the year before last, more than 7 million the year before last, and 8 million more. The total annual income of the sect is only 50 million. It will cost as much as 1 or 2%. Elder Shu flicked his sleeves and said, the old man said that the pill room is the most important thing in Lilong Palace. Which of the tens of thousands of disciples can practice without pills? It is normal to consume a lot. The black-faced man sneered and said, if those source crystals are really used to buy herbal medicines, that's all. Can Elder Shu guarantee that all the source crystals going from the palace master's place will be put into the operation of the alchemy room? Elder Shu suddenly became angry from embarrassment. He scolded, what do you mean? The black-faced man snorted, you know what you mean. When the sect was rich, it would be fine if it was embezzled and pocketed. Now that the sect is in trouble, shouldn't Elder Shu show one thing or two? Secretary embezzlement, enriching one's own pocket. Elder Shu immediately jumped up like a cat whose tail has been stepped on. The whole body is full of Emperor Yuan. Yu wanted to immediately fight the black-faced man to show his innocence. He turned his head and charged at Li Jiao and said in grief and indignation, Palace Master, someone has slandered and framed the old man, and I still want Palace Master to make the decision for me. Li Jiao stood there numbly, as if he didn't hear Elder Shu's words. Elder Shu turned his head and sneered at the black-faced man, my alchemy's financial income and expenses are all accountable. I don't want to argue with you here. Is there any secret embezzlement and pocketing? There is a decision, but it's your organ room, I don't know if the bottom of the butt is clean. How dare the old man bite back? The black-faced man was furious. How dare you call me an old man? You bastard, what's wrong with you, old thing, old thing, old thing. Quote. The two immediately quarreled, the rest of the elders were helping the fight, and some were trying to calm things down. The hall was in chaos. If Li Jiao was not still here, there might have been a big fight. Li Jiao stared down coldly, wishing to sweep away all these annoying guys, trying to clean his ears and clean his ears. But he is the lord of the first palace after all. The decision in one thought is related to the survival of tens of thousands of disciples. Even if there is anger in his heart, he can only suppress it forcibly and find a way to solve the current crisis first. With a creak, at this moment, the door of the main hall was pushed open, and a disciple walked in. The noisy sound stopped abruptly, and everyone turned their attention to the disciple. This disciple obviously didn't expect any wonderful things to happen in the hall before. What he saw was that the high-ranking elders were all red-faced and thick-necked at the moment, and the palace master stood at the top with a sneer on his face. Didn't dare to take a breath. What's the matter? Li Jiao asked impatiently. Report to palace master, someone is asking to see you. The disciple returned tremblingly. No, Li Jiao was in a mess, and refused without thinking. The disciple Rumong pardoned him, and immediately wanted to withdraw. But Li Jiao said again, who is asking to see? The disciple thought for a while and said, that man calls himself Yang Kai. What? Li Jiao turned pale with shock when he heard the words, and the group of elders below were also stunned. Then Elder Shu said, Yang Kai. Could it be that Lingxiao Palace master? If it's really him, then it would be interesting. The black-faced man who had been arguing with Elder Shu just now had a dangerous light in his eyes, and he raised his head and said, Palace master, why not let that Yang Kai come in? He is not from the Dragon Palace. The creditor, we can have a good discussion with him about those debts. It's time. It's a coincidence that this person came. Let him come in. Palace mistress, what do you think? Everyone turned their heads to look, only to see Li Jiao's face as black as the bottom of a pot. Apparently they didn't think everyone's idea was a good idea. Li Jiao sighed. Lingxiao Palace, you can't be provoked, so Yang Kai can't be provoked either. A group of elders were very unconvinced, because they heard that the lord of the Lingxiao Palace was only at the first level of Emperor Zun. Last time on his territory, his own lord and the lord of the mission sect suffered a big loss. This time he dared to take the initiative. I really don't know what the palace mistress is afraid of. As long as he is allowed to enter the hall and the door is closed, the huge debt will be settled in one go. Tell that person, my palace lord has gone out for a wandering trip and is not in the palace. Li Jiao waved his hand. The disciple promised, but when he was about to turn around, there was a sneer from outside the door. Brother Li is really putting on airs. My palace lord came to visit in person and didn't even give me a face. When the words fell, there were already two more figures in the hall. Before these two people appeared, none of the emperors in the hall noticed, as if they were there. He was as red as fire, with a cold expression and haughty eyes. He was clearly standing on the ground, but he gave people the feeling that he was in the clouds, as if he was not in the same world as everyone present. All the elders were startled, and all of them changed color. Li Zhao's figure flickered even more, and he almost turned around to run away, finally suppressing the conflict in his heart, and looked at Yang Kai speechlessly. Yang Kai looked up with a smile. Brother Li wants to go out and wander. Li Zhao laughed dryly. There is such a plan, but it's not a big deal, it's just a matter of whim, but since Palace Master Yang is here, Li can't leave naturally. Yang Kai rubbed his chin and said, I still have the mind to go out and travel, it seems that Palace Master Li is living a good life. Li Zhao suddenly looked bitter and said, Palace Master Yang, don't be joking, Li Mo's life these days, life is better than death. A group of elders bowed their heads in embarrassment when they heard the words. Yang Kai laughed and said, Brother Li is really interesting, Li Longgong family has a great career, and Brother Li is even more powerful and powerful, how can life be worse than death? Li Zhaoshan said that it was not all caused by you, but he said with a smile on his face, I don't know if Palace Master Yang is here today, what's your business? Yang Kai didn't answer, just looked at him with a smile. Li Zhao wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and said, This. Palace Master Yang is here to collect the money, right? Why do you do such trivial things yourself? Just let the servants do it, and I am away from Dragon Palace. I haven't forgotten the money for this year, but it will take some time to prepare it. When the preparations are complete, I will send it to Lingxiao Palace immediately, and there will be no delay. What's more, the deadline has not yet been reached. When is the deadline? Why don't I know? I think today is the deadline. The cold sweat on Li Zhao's forehead became more intense. Gongzu Yang is really here to collect the money. He couldn't believe it, although Lilong Palace did owe Lingxiao Palace a large amount of source crystals, but Yang Kai came to collect the money in person, and entered without warning, which is a bit too much. You surnamed Yang, don't be arrogant. The black-faced man in the crowd rushed out, poked Yang Kai and said, although I don't know what method you used to deceive the palace master, making me so hard-pressed to leave the Dragon Palace, but I miss you anyway. You can also be regarded as the lord of the first palace, and you can be regarded as a fellow in the Northern Territory. In the future, everyone will see you if you look up and look down. As long as you can make a written statement here, the two debts between you and me will be void, and I can still let you go. Otherwise, Many Emperor Senior stage looked towards Yang Kai with malicious intentions. After seeing Yang Kai with their own eyes and confirming that he is indeed only at the first level of Emperor Senior, everyone naturally has nothing to be afraid of. No matter how strong the High Heaven Palace is, as long as Yang Kai can be restrained here, it is equivalent to controlling the High Heaven Palace, and the so-called debt is just a joke. Li Zhao was sweating profusely and almost fainted. Yang Kai glanced at the black-faced man, then at Li Zhao and said, Is this your elder? No, Li Zhao categorically vetoed it. To be continued. Chapter 2944 Seeking More Happiness. A group of emperors looked at him dumbfounded. The black-faced man obviously didn't expect his palace master to give such an answer. He opened his mouth for a while and looked sluggish. Li Zhao said, I don't know when this kind of garbage got in. You dare to pretend to be the elder of Lilong Palace. Lord Palace Master Yang doesn't remember the villain's deeds, so don't have the same knowledge as him. Yang Kai said coldly, Since it is garbage, it should be cleaned up. Li Zhao hurriedly said, What Palace Master Yang said is true. When the words fell, he raised his hand and covered the black-faced big man, and the hall was surging in an instant. When the huge palm print slammed down, the black-faced man obviously hadn't reacted yet, but even if he reacted, he would definitely not be Li Zhao's opponent with his first-level Emperor Venerable cultivation. With a scream, the black-faced man was slapped to the ground, his bones were broken countless times, blood spilled from his nose and mouth, and he fainted. The quiet needles in the hall could be heard falling, and all the elders of Lilong Palace felt their heads dazed. They never expected that the palace lord would attack the elders of their own family. Li Zhao is not a moody person. Every Emperor Senior Realm elder present has followed him for at least 100 years, and has made great contributions to the Lilong Palace. However, Li Zhao attacked his own family in order to please an outsider. People are a little disheartened. The black-faced man was hit by this blow. Even if he didn't die, he was not seriously injured. It would take at least 1 or 2 months of training to recover. Under everyone's eyes, Li Jiao raised his hand again and threw the black-faced man out of the hall. He looked around coldly and snorted softly, "It's just shameful not to have eyes at home, but if you don't have eyes outside, it's just a shame. I lost my life, and I hope you all keep this in mind. €1." These words of implied warning reached the ears of all. Let them stunned and look different. Li Jiao turned his head and looked at Yang Kai with a dry smile. "I don't know if Palace Master Yang is still satisfied." Yang Kai chuckled and said, "Brother Li handles his own affairs. It doesn't matter if I am satisfied or not." Li Jiao was relieved at this time, and said with a light breath, "I don't know if Palace Master Yang is here." "Why?" Yang Kai said with a smile, "Collection, didn't Brother Li guess it just now? Why ask for it knowingly?" Li Jiao turned pale in shock, wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and said, "Palace Master Yang, don't joke, don't joke." "You think I'm joking?" Yang Kai looked at him lightly. Li Jiao is not sure what Yang Kai is doing here. Logically speaking, the annual debt of 40 million high-grade source crystals is really not worth Yang Kai's mobilization, so he went to visit in person, but his expression was different. As if joking, let Li Jiao beat the drum in his heart. "I owe people a lot of money, I always feel like a dwarf, and I have no confidence to speak. If the Lingxiao Palace does not have such a great background, I would have to fight against Li Longgong, but Li Jiaolian, who knows the details of the Lingxiao Palace? The idea of €1 resistance can't come up. They have something to do with Master Ji Ying, there are 3 big demon kings, and there is also a dragon. With such a lineup, how can Li Longgong be compared? If he really provokes people, the fate of Qi Qingzong will be the tomorrow of Lilong Palace." A time, Li Jiao laughed along, not knowing what to do. Yang Kai suddenly said, "Brother Li, can't you get it out?" Li Jiao said embarrassingly, "I have to ask Palace Master Yang to be more lenient." "How long is the grace period?" "Half a year, no, 3 months. 3 months is enough," Li Jiao said hurriedly. 3 months. Palace Master Li's requirements are too low. Yang Kai smiled slightly and said, "How about this Palace Master give you 3 years? "What?" Li Jiao was stunned, not understanding what Yang Kai meant. "Yang Kai Dao, this Palace Lord has given you 3 years. In these 3 years, you don't have to make offerings to my High Heaven Palace when you leave the Dragon Palace. After 3 years, everything will be as usual. With the buffer of these 3 years, you will leave the Dragon Palace. Life should be much better." Li Jiao didn't feel pleasantly surprised, instead he had a frightened expression on his face, and hesitantly said, "Palace Master Yang, what's your request?" "There is no free lunch in the world. It is impossible for this Lingxiao Palace Master to be so kind. Li Jiao has lived for so many years. Common sense is always there." Yang Kai smiled softly, "I need Brother Li to accompany me to a place." Li Jiao suddenly became vigilant. The expression changed endlessly. "Where?" Yang Kai quietly transmitted his voice and spit out 2 words. Li Jiao's face changed greatly, as if he heard some shocking news. He shook his head into a rattle. "Palace Yang, Fei Li does not want to help you, just. Then pay back the money now." Yang Kai stretched out his hand before he could finish his sentence. The corners of Li Jiao's mouth twitched, and he said angrily, "Palace Master Yang, Li Mo treats you with sincerity. Don't try to deceive people too much. Li Jiao, we're not scared." Yang Kai smiled and said, "Brother Li, why is it so inhumane? I just want you to accompany me to that place, not for your life." Li Jiao shook his head and said, "There are other places to talk about, but that place." He seemed to remember something from the past, and he couldn't help shivering, and then said, "Palace Master Yang will make another request, it will be satisfied." "Yes, Li must satisfy you." "Really?" Yang Kai's expression darkened. Li Jiao answered with silence instead. Yang Kai sighed slightly, and said, "Forget it, a twisted melon is not sweet, since Brother Li is unwilling, then the Palace Master will not force it. It was just that the Palace Master planned to resolve a crisis for Brother Li, since Brother Li is unwilling to cooperate, then you should seek more happiness for yourself." Li Jiao's heart suddenly burst, and he said in amazement, "Crisis? What crisis?" Yang Kai shrugged his shoulders. Zhu Lai, who had been standing beside him silently, said, "This guy knows where Zhu Qing is." "No one knows better than him," Yang Kai replied. The fundamental reason why Zhu Qing went to permafrost at the beginning was this Li Jiao. Li Jiao accidentally got a dragon's blood flower from the frozen soil many years ago, and brought it back to Lilong Palace to cultivate it with his own blood. According to him, the reason why the dragon's blood flower appeared in the frozen soil was because a giant dragon fell on the ground. There, the dragon's blood flower absorbed the essence of the dragon's flesh and blood and survived. And Zhu Qing had inquired about the location of that place from Li Jiao before, and went to the frozen soil to bring back the origin of the dragon family left by the giant dragon. So if there is anyone in the world who knows where Zhu Qing is in the permafrost, then only Li Jiao knows best, and letting him lead the way is the fastest way. That's good. Zhu Lai nodded and walked towards Li Jiao. Li Jiao's heart tightened, and he felt a huge sense of crisis inexplicably. He had paid attention to this red-haired young man before, and he also noticed his strength, so he repeatedly tolerated Yang Kai's difficulties. At this moment, Li Jiao didn't agree. Naturally, he was more vigilant. He asked in a deep voice, "I don't know what to call Zuncha." Zhu Lai sneered. "Reptiles are not qualified to know my name." Climbing, reptiles. Li Jiao was furious. He was afraid of Yang Kai. That was because there were countless powerhouses behind Yang Kai that he couldn't provoke, especially the mother dragon. That was not something he could look up to at all. This red-haired young man is powerful, but it is not to the extent that he is in awe and horrified. He is also a 3-layer mirror of Emperor Zun, and there are not many people in this world who can beat him. I don't like a despicable bloodline like you. It should have been extinct long ago. Zhu Lai's eyes were full of contempt. This sentence completely angered Li Jiao. His bloodline impure is a thorn in his heart, whoever mentions it will be unlucky. So with a roar, Li Jiao was ready to teach the red-haired young man a lesson. No matter how powerful the opponent is, as long as he is not at the level of the great emperor, he cannot be his opponent in this Lilong Palace. He occupies the right time and place, and can exert a powerful force far beyond his own strength. The roar stopped abruptly, and the yuan agitating in Li Jiao's body also suddenly calmed down. He stood on the high platform and looked down with trembling eyes. Call. Dragon clan. Below, behind Zhu Lai, who was walking towards him step by step, suddenly a red dragon figure appeared, hovering above his head. The huge dragon's eyes stared at Li Jiao indifferently. Li Jiao only felt that all the strength in his body was gone, the blood almost solidified in his body, and Yuan was not functioning properly. Now even if he comes to Daoyuan realm, I am afraid that he can be killed on the spot casually. The high-pitched dragon roar didn't sound until this time. It was deafening, making the entire hall tremble. Many elders of Lilong Palace were all looking like dirt, and they were in a hurry. It was not until now that they knew how wise and miraculous their palace lord was. When Li Jiao knocked out the black-faced man and threw him out, they still felt that their palace lord was a little unkind and cold, but now they understood that it was not that Li Jiao was timid, but that he had foresight. Not to mention the strength of the palace master of Lingxiao Palace, who was watching the excitement. Such a dragon family alone is enough to sweep away everyone present. At that time, if there was any conflict, only Lilong Palace was unlucky. The Dragon Clan, the living Dragon Clan, the Dragon Clan that has always existed only in legends and classics, appeared in front of them so suddenly, making everyone feel an extremely unreal feeling. Only by witnessing it with my own eyes can I know how weak the descriptions in the ancient books are. When the Dragon Clan is angry, who can stand up to it? A conflict with the Dragon Clan is equivalent to opposing the entire Dragon Island. Li Longgong has neither the courage nor the ability. In a blink of an eye, Zhu Lai had already walked to the high platform, reached out his hand and squeezed Li Jiao's neck and lifted him up. With the cultivation of an emperor's 3-layer mirror in the sky, Li Jiao was like a baby in front of Zhu Lai. To be continued. Chapter 2945 Three Fingers Mountain. Save me. Li Jiao couldn't get rid of Zhu Lai's shackles, he only felt that his neck was about to be crushed. Call for help. Net A per mil unknown currency. Since the two came together, Yang Kai's words must have some weight. Yang Kai shrugged and said, "Brother Li, I'm sorry, I can't help you with this." There was a ho-ho sound in Li Jiao's throat, and he could no longer utter a word. A group of elders from the Lilong Palace were even more anxious, watching their palace lords being insulted by this. It was neither up nor down, it was extremely embarrassing. Forgot to tell you, this dragon is Zhu Qing's younger brother, and he is also from Long Island. Zhu Qing, do you still remember? Even the female dragon that went to that place, Brother Li has to bear a lot of responsibilities. It's your responsibility. Yang Kai sighed leisurely. Zhu Qing went to that place and has yet to return. It seems that he encountered some danger, and then his brother came out from Long Island and wanted to save his sister. Tisk tisk, sister brother Li is deeply in love, which is really touching. But he learned that this matter was caused by you, so he didn't have a good impression of you, brother Li. Li Zhao's eyes almost rolled over, and only a piece of white kernel remained. Ah, yes, Yang Kai continued to add fuel to the fire. This brother seems to be very disliked by the existence of impure blood, seeing one kills one, seeing two kills a pair. I mentioned it to him before. I don't know if he has listened to your situation, brother Li. In a word, this is the matter between Longdao and Yuewen Palace, and it is really inconvenient for an outsider like me to intervene. It was only at this moment that Li Zhao understood what the crisis in Yang's mouth meant. This is indeed a big crisis, and he can't understand even if he wants to break his mind. How can a dragon family, which is rarely seen by ordinary people, appear in front of him every 3 or 5 years, and it is all related to this palace master of Lingxiao Palace? Now he feels more and more that there is the shadow of Long Island behind Lingxiao Palace. Now in this situation, even if this dragon clan really killed him, he would have nowhere to justify it. Don't expect those people under him to take revenge for him. He wanted to speak, but he couldn't utter a word no matter what, so he could only raise one hand and 3 fingers, shaking it constantly. Brother Li, what do you mean? I don't understand the gesture. Yang Kai looked blank. Li Zhao continued to shake. Yang Kai turned a deaf ear. 3 fingers became 2, and eventually 1. Yang Kai said, I understand a little. Since brother Li is so sincere, I don't think it can't be discussed. He turned to look at Zhu Lai and said, let the people go first. If you really kill him, don't do it. Hope to find your sister. Zhu Lai snorted coldly, and threw Li Zhao out like a rag sack. With a loud bang, Li Zhao fell to the side heavily, rolled over a few times to stabilize his body, hurriedly got up, and coughed violently. It's hard to stabilize, but he didn't even have the courage to look at Zhu Lai. His eyes were dodging, and he was terrified. If it were any emperor's 3-layer mirror here, he wouldn't be so unbearable, but in the face of the pure dragon family, he couldn't have any thoughts of resistance and resentment in his bones. I just feel that I am inferior to others everywhere and deserve this abuse. Brother Li, it's not too late, let's get to it. Yang Kai looked at Li Zhao and said. Li Zhao nodded weakly. Yang Kai smiled and said, don't look wronged. It's not that you really want your life, it's just letting you lead the way. Not to mention that you haven't earned it, this palace master can give you a 1-year repayment time. The corners of Li Zhao's mouth twitched, and the bowels of regret are all green. I knew that Yang Kai had brought a dragon clan over, and he agreed to everything they said, so why would he bargain with him? Now, the original 3-year period has become 1 year, or what he asked for. Li Zhao turned around and ordered to many emperors, I also ask you to take care of the palace, and Li will come back when he goes. The elders nodded incessantly and looked at Li Zhao with sympathy. They also knew about Li Zhao's situation, and knew that he was not timid, but it was really impossible to meet the nemesis. Embarrassed to make more stops, Li Zhao urged Yang Kai to get on the road quickly. Lu Yunshuo came out, and the 3 entered it, turning into a stream of light and rushing towards the north. Among the 4 domains of the astral world, each domain has dangers and forbidden areas. In the southern region there is the southern marsh, in the eastern region the wild land, in the western region there is the western desert, and in the northern region there is permafrost. These are just a few of the most famous places. But when it comes to the degree of danger and the probability of death, if the permafrost in the northern territory is second, there is no other place that can be ranked first. The name of permafrost is recognized as the most dangerous place in the entire astral world. It is a forbidden place for life that even the great emperor dare not go into easily. Other places such as the South Marsh, such as the wild land, there are many hidden vitality in it. Although it is extremely dangerous, it also hides many opportunities, but there is only death and cold in the frozen soil, and nothing else. No one knows what it's like inside the permafrost, because everyone who goes in is dead. Li Zhao was able to escape from the permafrost by luck. One was good luck, and the other was that he didn't go too deep. The place he went to was only the edge of the permafrost. That was a few hundred years ago. That year, Li Zhao had just been promoted to the 3rd-layer mirror of Emperor Zun, and he was full of high-spirited and wanton publicity. He only felt that the world was so big that he could go anywhere. On a whim, I went to the permafrost. After that trip, Li Zhao vowed never to go to the frozen soil again in his life. That dragon's blood flower was brought back to Lilong Palace by Li Zhao at that time. I never thought that I would go there again after hundreds of years. Even though it has been a long time, Li Jiao still has a fresh memory of that experience. Along the way, he revealed a lot of information about frozen soil with Yang Kai and Zhu Lai. According to Li Jiao, the biggest feature of permafrost is cold. That kind of cold is not cold in the general sense, but the cold that kills all life. It is a kind of cold that cannot be described or resisted at all. That ghost place seems to have a natural restraint on life, and no living beings can survive there for a long time. This information was quickly verified. The farther the Luyun Shuo flew north, the colder the outside environment became, and what you saw was a vast expanse of white, making it impossible to distinguish the east, west, north, and west. This goose feather-sized snowflake is constantly floating in the sky, and the whole world seems to be sealed by ice, except for white. There is no other color at all. Even though they were hiding in Luyunshuo, the three of them could still feel the slightest coldness. Although it was weak, it was extremely uncommon. Although Luyunshuo is a flying secret treasure, it is also an imperial treasure. It comes from Hu Yu's hand and has many defensive functions. Such an imperial treasure cannot resist the erosion of the severe cold. One can imagine the external environment. How bad. Li Jiao's face became more and more ugly. If it weren't for Zhu Lai's deterrence, I'm afraid he would have regretted it and fled back. 10 days after leaving the Dragon Palace, the group of three barely reached the edge of the permafrost. Li Jiao still had a fresh memory of the location where he found the dragon's blood flower, so he has been guiding the direction. 2 days later, Li Jiao suddenly said excitedly, "Over there, did you see that Three Fingers Mountain? It's there, and that's where I found dragon blood flower." Yang Kai glanced at Zhu Lai, who frowned slightly and shook his head slowly. He and Zhu Qing are sisters and brothers, and they are both red dragons. They have some feelings between each other. If Zhu Qing is still there, he will definitely be able to perceive it. But at this moment, he could not feel any breath belonging to Zhu Qing. But no matter what, Yang Kai still controlled Luyunshuo to fly towards the Three-Fingered Mountain. There was a mountain between the peaks. Luyunshuo slowly descended, and the three walked out in turn. Just after leaving the protection of Luyunshuo, the cold that penetrated deep into the bone marrow and soul rushed over from all directions, making the three of them couldn't help fighting a cold war, and they urged Emperor Yuan to resist. This is only the edge of the frozen soil, and it is already so cold that ordinary Emperor Senior first-level warriors may not be able to last long here. It is really difficult to imagine the internal situation of the frozen soil. Zhu Lai's dragon breath seemed to have some restraining effect on this gloomy cold. Li Jiao saw it and leaned against him involuntarily, but in exchange for Zhu Lai's cold eyes, he couldn't help but sneered and retreated 2 steps. Yang Kai's spiritual sense swept out, covering a radius of 100 miles, and it took a while to withdraw, and he couldn't help shaking his body. In the short period of time just now, he felt that his spiritual sense was almost frozen. If he didn't take it back, he was afraid that it would be damaged. "The place you pointed to Zhu Qing that day is sure to be here." Yang Kai turned to look at Li Jiao and asked. Li Jiao hurriedly said, "I'm sure, I remember this place, unless there is another place in the frozen soil that is exactly the same as this place. The Three Fingers Mountain is a very good sign. Although it has been hundreds of years, Li Jiao's memory will not go wrong." As he said, he waved. "I remember that the dragon blood flower was found in this direction." Yang Kai and Zhu Lai followed, and after a while, Li Jiao stopped somewhere, looked up at the direction of the Three Fingers Mountain, and silently calculated and confirmed it for a long time, and then said with a straight face, "This is it, absolutely." Zhu Lai also said, "I feel a very weak dragon breath." As he spoke, he raised his hand, and flames spewed out of his palm, turning into a lifelike fire dragon hitting the snow on the ground. The scorching flames melted the snow, and soon a gully with a depth of more than 10 meters appeared on the ground, revealing the soil buried under the snow. The frozen soil was so hard that it was stronger than steel, but on the soil, there was an obvious trace, which seemed to be a huge claw print. Li Jiao said excitedly, "Look, I'm right, this is the place where the giant dragon fell." The huge claw print was obviously left by the claws of the giant dragon. Even after hundreds of years, it was still well preserved under the cover of snow. To be continued. 8. Chapter 2946 Cold Wave. The three of them worked together, and quickly removed all the snow covering the vicinity, and the huge traces left by the fall of the giant dragon appeared in front of them all at once. 1. As Li Jiao had said before, There are only traces here, and no dragon corpse, because the dragon's flesh and blood essence and even bones have become nutrients, giving birth to a dragon's blood flower. There is no information left by Zhu Qing here, and no one knows if he has ever been here. Yang Kai sensed silently for a long time, shook his head and said, the power of the source is not here. Although he is not a dragon, but since he practiced the dragon transformation art taught by Zhu Qing, the power of the golden sacred dragon's origin has begun to truly merge with him, and his blood and body are gradually transforming to the dragon, so if there is a dragon's origin here, if so, he must be able to sense it. Zhu Lai glanced at him and said, I want to use the dragon's secret technique to protect the law for me. Yang Kai nodded sternly and walked aside. Li Zhao's expression changed, and he looked at Zhu Lai curiously and eagerly. The Dragon Clan's secret technique is a very mysterious secret technique, which can only be performed with the blood of the Dragon Clan. Yang Kai can suppress Zhu Lai and Zhu Qing with the power of the blood, but without systematic study, even he can't. It may be possible to display the dragon's secret art, because it involves the use of Long Yuan and the incantation of the dragon language. Li Zhao has a trace of dragon blood, and he is naturally curious and longing for this. Zhu Lai closed his eyes and calmed down. After a while, he suddenly opened his eyes, pointed his finger like a knife, and slid slightly on his other hand. The sharp nails cut the palm of his hand, and the air immediately filled with a strong bloody smell. Zhu Lai clenched the big hand with only the wound tightly, raised it high, the dragon essence surged in his body, and a low voice of incantation came out of his mouth. The incantation was mysterious and complicated, and it made people feel extremely awkward to hear it, as if Zhu Lai's mouth was full of things and he was talking. Li Zhao, who raised his ears, looked dazed, scratching his ears and cheeks anxiously. He finally encountered a pure Dragon Clan performing Dragon Clan's secret arts in front of him. It's a pity that you can't even hear what people say, how can you learn? Yang Kai didn't understand it either, but he always felt that when Zhu Lai used this Dragon Clan secret technique, it was similar to those witches in ancient times who had to sing incantations. Under the gaze of the two, drops of blood dripped from Zhu Lai's palm. His dragon blood was different from normal blood, like a burning flame, emitting a scorching aura. After falling to the ground, there was a stinging sound. Melt into the ground and disappear. The wind gusted, the snowflakes flew, and Zhu Lai's mantra became more and more high-pitched, and gradually became similar to the dragon's roar. The space between heaven and earth seems to be completely filled with this dragon roar. Suddenly, Zhu Lai's voice stopped. The momentum of the whole person climbing to the extreme is like a deflated ball, withering a lot at once, and even some sweat seeps on that delicate face. Although I don't know what kind of dragon secret technique this is, this trick will undoubtedly consume a lot of him. Both Yang Kai and Li Zhao looked at him eagerly, but Zhu Lai's eyes were lowered, staring at the ground. The earth was poured with his blood. At this moment, it became red, and the scorching energy collided with the cold air here, emitting transpiring heat. At a certain moment, Zhu Lai's eyes lit up, at the same time. Yang Kai and Li Zhao also noticed a change. The blood-stained ground was wriggling, as if something was about to burst out of the ground. Under the attention of the three of them, a little bit of dark red bloomed from the soil, and immediately rose rapidly, and the branches and leaves spread. It was just a moment's effort, and there was an extra 1-foot-high tree on the ground. The red glow seemed to be poured from blood plant. At first glance, this thing looks like a blood coral. Zhu Lai sucked up the 1-foot-high blood coral, held it in the palm of his hand, and the dense red light gathered on the canopy, floating in a certain direction as if spiritual, like a red ribbon hanging on the canopy. The strange thing is that the direction of the red ribbon flying is completely different from the wind direction here. Zhu Lai pointed to the direction of the red belt and said, Zhu Qing is over there, still alive. Although I don't know how he judged this information, it is undoubtedly related to the Dragon Clan's secret technique he used. Yang Kai sacrificed Lu Yunsuo without saying a word, and said in a low voice, Go. Li Zhao stood there and didn't move, looking at Yang Kai in a pleasing manner. Palace Master Yang, Li has brought you to the place, this is the rest of the journey, gentleman speaks and does not do it, Li will be the same. Before he could finish his words, Zhu Lai lifted him and threw it directly into Lu Yunshuo, with a bitter expression on his face. He doesn't know why the dragon race is still unwilling to let him go. He has already completed his mission and brought Yang Kai and Zhu Lai to the place where the next thing should have nothing to do with him. He should be able to leave this ghost in this place, returning to the Dragon Palace, but things backfired. As the Emperor's 3-layer mirror, he has not tasted this feeling of powerlessness for many years. He secretly made up his mind that if he can survive this trip, he will never deal with the dragon clan again in the future, which is too deceiving. Lu Yunshuo broke through the air, but the speed was getting slower and slower. After Zhu Lai used the secret technique, he became very weak, and the blood coral was held in Yang Kai's hand, relying on the guidance of the direction of the red light to find Zhu Qing. It was only less than 2,000 miles deep into the frozen soil, when the flying cloud shuttle suddenly vibrated violently and then fell towards the bottom. Yang Kai was slightly startled and thought he had been attacked, but soon he understood what was going on, kicked Li Jiao out and woke up Zhu Lai, who was recovering from meditation. Immediately afterwards, he put away the Lu Yunshuo and stood in the air. The icy cold wind blows, and the coldness wraps the person, as if it can freeze the soul of the person. In such a sinister environment, even a strong person who has practiced the law of ice may not be able to stay for a long time. Li Jiao flew over tremblingly, and said with a gloomy face, "What's wrong?" There was a layer of isolation in the Lu Yunshuo just now, but now he is directly in contact with the frozen soil with his body. He clearly feels that his vitality is slowly passing away. Although it will be fine for a while, but it has been in such a place for a long time, I'm afraid it will lose my life. It's nothing, the next road will probably have to go by ourselves. Yang Kai glanced at Zhu Lai as he spoke. Lu Yunshuo, a flying emperor treasure, was frozen in this place and could not function normally. If this kind of thing hadn't been experienced personally, I'm afraid no one would believe it. Zhu Lai's expression did not change, but Li Jiao's complexion suddenly turned snow-white. He hesitated for a while and said, "You too, Li has a ruthless request." Zhu Lai looked at him with an icy expression that was even more terrifying than the freezing cold of the permafrost. Li Jiao's words changed all of a sudden. "Li can be the queen." "That's very good." Yang Kai smiled slightly, holding the dragon blood coral in one hand, and took the lead to fly forward. Zhu Lai stretched out his hand, grabbed Li Jiao and threw it forward, letting him follow behind Yang Kai, and Shi Shiren himself walked at the back. Flying in the permafrost is definitely not a good thing, but soon Yang Kai discovered an interesting phenomenon, that is, the higher he flew, the greater the consumption and the more terrifying the ice cold that destroyed life. After realizing this, he immediately flew down, not far from the ground, and the resistance he received was much less. Only in this way, the speed is much slower, but it is also relatively safe. In a full day of work, the three people traveled hundreds of miles, which is a bit incredible for a group of Emperor's senior realm. For one day, the three of them were shaking all over, their hair and face covered with ice slag. No matter how the three of them urged Di Yuan, they couldn't resist the chill that invaded their bodies. Li Jiao wanted to leave several times, but as soon as he touched Zhu Lai's eyes, the courage he had accumulated all of a sudden collapsed. He was a little puzzled. Yang Kai was only at the first level of Emperor Senior. Why did he persist for so long? Logically speaking, only the first-level Emperor Senior should have frozen to death here, but there are three people. It seems that only he is in the best condition, and at this point, even Zhu Lai, who is a dragon, can't compare with it. Another day later, Yang Kai, who was leading the way, suddenly stopped and listened. He vaguely noticed something. Li Jiao, who was following him, almost collided with him. Seeing Yang Kai's dignified look, he couldn't help asking nervously, "What's wrong with Palace Master Yang?" Yang Kai's gaze crossed Li Jiao and looked at Zhu Lai. "Something is coming." Zhu Lai nodded slightly, and he also felt that something was indeed coming, and the surrounding air and chill conveyed an abnormal fluctuation. What? Li Jiao asked with a pale face. "The frozen soil is lifeless, what could be here?" It can be seen that Yang Kai and Zhu Lai are both serious, and he can't help but feel worried. "It should be that thing." Yang Kai raised his head and looked into the distance, narrowing his eyes. Li Jiao followed his gaze and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. "I saw that on the edge of the sky. I don't know when a black thing appeared, as if a huge curtain covering the sky, covering the entire sky, is rapidly moving towards this side." Cold wave. Li Jiao seemed to have remembered something, and he quickly stepped back while exclaiming. Between life and death, he finally suppressed his fear of Zhu Lai, and ran to and fro without his head, just wanting to stay as far away from the cold wave as possible. Yang Kai and Zhu Lai followed closely behind him. The fear of death offset all the unfavorable factors. This time Li Jiao actually took the lead and ran faster than anyone else. "What is the cold wave?" Yang Kai asked while fleeing. "Tianwei," Li Jiao said with a ferocious expression on his face. He only hated that his father and mother had lost 2 legs and ran so slowly, Tianwei unique to frozen soil. To be continued. I would like to visit with a friend on a mobile phone. Chapter 2947 Life and Death Do Not Know. Li Jiao escaped from the permafrost back then, so he naturally paid more attention to the permafrost, but there was too little information about permafrost in this world. Even if he collected it, he couldn't find much useful things. He knew that there was a kind of heavenly power in the permafrost called the cold wave, and he knew that under the cold wave, no one could live, but he didn't know how the cold wave was formed, how to avoid it, and what it looked like. Until now, seeing it with his own eyes, he immediately determined that it was a cold wave. The 3 of them were not fast, and they tried their best to escape the pursuit of the cold wave. Seeing that the distance was getting closer and closer, the expressions of Yang Kai and Zhu Lai were not very good looking. In a crisis of life and death, no one can remain indifferent. Yang Kai tried to mobilize the law of space, but found that it was extremely difficult. The chill in the frozen ground seemed to freeze the space, so he had to dispel the idea of a Euro teleportation. The cold wave was getting closer and closer to the 3 of them, and the bone-piercing chill seemed to hit the back like a sledgehammer, making people tremble all over. Li Jiao suddenly said with a ferocious expression, "If Li Mo is killed by you this time, even if he is a ghost, he will not let you go." The grievances and anger of the past few days finally broke out at this moment. People are about to die, how can there be so many scruples? He opened his mouth and said, "Yang Kai, aren't you very powerful? Even the Demon King Holy Spirit was driven by you at will, but now I think of a way." Seeing Yang Kai's silence, he said angrily, "You can only pretend to be a tiger, do you think Li Mo is really afraid of your failure? If it wasn't for Master Ji Ying's face, Li Mo would have led someone to beat you down long ago. Shao Palace. Destroy your Ling Shao Palace. It's better to call you dead. Even a mere emperor at the first level dares to be arrogant and presumptuous in front of Li, I don't know what it is." He scolded him angrily, but he didn't seem to be satisfied. He turned his head and said to Zhu Lai, who was on the side. "Dragon Clan. Dragon Clan is amazing again. Dragon Clan can look down on people. This seat's blood is not pure, so what? That's mother. Raised by my biological father, this seat has cultivated to the Emperor's 3-layer mirror with his own efforts. If you don't have the blood of the dragon family, I am afraid that even this seat is not as good as this seat. I don't know who to show it with a proud look all day. If you have the ability, don't use your blood to suppress this seat. Li will tell you to know the power of this seat. Damn it, how could Li be in this muddy water with you? There's absolutely nothing wrong with coming to the frozen soil. It's better to leave early, it's all your fault. Li has already taken you to the place, why are you still holding on to Li? It's really easy to bully Li. Wait, if you can survive this time, Li will definitely bring someone to the High Heaven Palace. Kill Long Island and kill you all." He chatted for a while, as if he had lost his mind, and became a little hysterical. Unfortunately, no matter how he vented his anger, Yang Kai and Zhu Lai ignored him. The 2 looked at each other. Zhu Lai said, "If you have any trump card, use it quickly. If it's too late, I'm afraid it's really too late." Yang Kai pouted and said, "You have so many Dragon Clan secret techniques, so you are counting on me. I only have 1 level, so what kind of trump card can I have?" Zhu Lai took a deep look at him and sighed, "Well, since you want to hide your clumsiness, then I won't force you, I'll do it." Li Jiao's yelling stopped abruptly, as if his mouth was pinched by an invisible big hand. He looked at Yang Kai and then at Zhu Lai. With a smile on his face, he asked cautiously, "My lord, do you have a way to get out of the crisis?" Zhu Lai said coldly, "You can give it a try." Li Jiao immediately said, "Then what are you waiting for? Hurry up and do it." Yang Kai looked at him with a smile while flying. Li Jiao's snow-white face couldn't help showing a hint of flushing, and he said embarrassedly, "Sir, you must bring me, just now. I didn't know what happened just now, and the ghost was fascinated, that's definitely not me. Ideas, adults, don't care." He could not wait to slap himself, and his mouth was quick for a while, but he didn't expect to cause a big disaster, and he didn't know whether this dragon family was willing to take care of him. Fortunately, his worries were unnecessary. When a dragon roar came out, a red dragon appeared on the top of Zhu Lai's head. The dragon circled and wrapped the 3 of them at once. The frigid chill seems to be isolated, and the plainness gives people a sense of security. Zhu Lai let out a low voice, and some signs of dragon transformation appeared on the surface of his body. Then he turned around and rushed towards the direction of the cold wave. Li Jiao was so frightened that he screamed, but he didn't dare to get rid of the protection of the red dragon. He could only watch as he was getting closer and closer to the cold wave. Yang Kai was also slightly startled, but he quickly understood Zhu Lai's plan. At the current speed of the three of them, it is impossible to escape the pursuit of the cold wave. This is not a very good way, but it is worth a try, maybe it can really get out of the crisis. In the roar of the cold wind, the cold wave was getting closer and closer to everyone, and Li Jiao was already horrified. After more than 10 breaths, the three finally collided with the cold wave head-on, and were directly shrouded in darkness. Zhu Lai's face changed greatly, and he suddenly found something wrong. This cold wave is a little different from what he expected. It does not seem to be a natural disaster caused by the gathering of heaven and earth, swallowed in. Yang Kai even lost his voice. The law of space. He never imagined that the Tianwei cold wave that exists in this frozen soil actually contains the power of extremely strong space laws. A feeling of teleportation, and this feeling is more violent than cross-domain teleportation. The whole person seems to be torn apart and turned into countless tiny powders pouring into the void channel. Almost instinctively, Yang Kai also motivated his own space law. The next moment, his head was dizzy, and he could no longer feel the existence of Zhu Lai and Li Jiao, and no one knew where the two of them went. Yang Kai only felt that he was falling, never seeing the bottom, and the feeling of dizziness became more and more serious. I don't know how long it took before that dizzy feeling suddenly disappeared. He fell heavily on a piece of ground, bounced up again, and rolled several times before he finally stabilized. The bones all over his body seemed to be shattered, and the nausea he had never felt hit his heart, making him gag a few times. The surroundings were silent, still covered with snow, but Li Jiao and Zhu Lai were no longer there. Slowly getting up, Yang Kai's expression gradually became solemn. Although the surrounding scenery does not seem to be much different from before, there is no such coldness that penetrates deep into the soul. He keenly feels the difference here. It seems to be another world, not on the same plane as the frozen earth world. He tried to feel the laws of heaven and earth around him, and after a while, he confirmed the guess in his heart. This is indeed another piece of heaven and earth. Although the laws of heaven and earth here are complete, it seems to be very chaotic, which is very different from the laws of the astral world. In other words, he is not in the astral world now. Thinking back on what he had encountered before, he gradually had a little guess, but he was not quite sure. The only thing that is certain is that the reason why he came to this place has a huge relationship with the cold wave. Perhaps the cold wave is the entrance to this world, and the power of destroying the world is just a disguise. Suddenly, a red light appeared in the corner of his eye. Yang Kai turned his head to look, and saw that the dragon blood coral that he had been holding in his hand was blooming 100 times more intensely than ever before. The dense light on the coral crown has now condensed a thick red belt, floating in a certain direction, guiding Yang Kai's direction. Zhu Qing. Yang Kai raised his brows and immediately understood why the dragon blood coral had such a change. This was created by Zhu Lai using his own dragon blood to cast the dragon's secret technique. The main purpose was to find Zhu Qing's whereabouts. When searching in the permafrost before, it really pointed the way. But it is far less violent and obvious than the guidance this time. Zhu Qing is nearby, possibly not far away. When the cold wave came, it swept across a wide range. He was brought into this world by the cold wave. If Zhu Qing was also engulfed by the cold wave, he should also appear in this world, so this dragon blood coral would be abnormal. At this point, Yang Kai quickly gathered his energy, picked up the dragon blood coral, and flew away in the direction it pointed. In the vast snow-capped mountains, Yang Kai was alone. After half an hour, Yang Kai found the familiar figure less than 300 miles away from where he had just appeared. With long blood-red hair and a petite body, he lay on his side on the snow, not knowing whether he was alive or dead. Yang Kai hurried over to pick up the figure, lifted the hair that brushed his face, and saw Zhu Qing's face. Good news. Zhu Qing found it. As for Zhu Lai and Li Jiao, Yang Kai estimated that they should not be in any danger. The cold wave looked terrifying and seemed to be harmless. The reason why they were separated was entirely because at the moment when they were enveloped by the cold wave, they instinctively activated the laws of space. There seems to be something wrong with Zhu Qing's situation. She is also a dragon, and has a cultivation level comparable to the Emperor's 3-layer mirror. There is no reason to faint on the ground for no reason. Maybe it has something to do with being swallowed by the cold wave just now. After all, after being swallowed, even Yang Kai, who was proficient in the laws of space, was disgusted for a while. But that's not the main reason. Yang Kai felt that her body was very cold, like a mass of ice, and even her vitality was extremely weak. To be continued. Chapter 2948. This is a misunderstanding. Helping Zhu Qing up and letting her lean on him, Yang Kai stretched out 2 fingers on her wrist, urging Emperor Yuan to pour into her body to check the situation. After a while, Yang Kai's brows furrowed, and the aura in Zhu Qing's body was so disordered. This disorder did not seem to be the cause of the serious injury, but it was a bit like going crazy, which made him puzzled and didn't know Zhu Qing. What exactly happened to Qing in the permafrost, and she was in danger of going crazy. She was a dragon. In addition, Zhu Qing's physical body is also very bad now. She has probably stayed in the frozen soil for too long before, so she has been eroded by the chill that kills life, and most of her flesh and blood has lost its vitality. If so, I am afraid that this body will also be destroyed. Yang Kai didn't dare to delay, released his spiritual sense, and soon found a cave nearby, picked up Zhu Qing, and quickly rushed into the cave. This cave is probably left by some beast, and there is a pungent stench inside, but it has been abandoned for a long time, and it seems that no living creature has come in for a long time. Unnecessarily disturbed during the treatment process, Yang Kai directly sacrificed the Xuanjiaju and brought Zhu Qing into the Shaoxuanji. In an environment of birds and flowers, Yang Kai put Zhu Qingping on the ground, took out a large amount of spiritual pills from his space ring, pinched her mouth, and stuffed it involuntarily. Zhu Qing's current situation is a bit tricky. Affected by the cold of the permafrost, her body is severely damaged, and the long yuan in her body is also very disordered for some reason. Therefore, if you want to save her, you must go from the outside to the inside and force the chill that invades into the body out, so that she can control the long yuan in her body. Most of the medicinal pills in Yang Kai's hands are high-quality spirit pills. If this one is plugged in, at least 1 million source crystals will be gone. However, the effect is also very significant. With the assistance of Yang Kai, the medicinal effect of the spirit pill quickly came to an end. Walking among Zhu Qing's limbs and bones, her body gradually exudes a biting chill, which is exactly the same as the ubiquitous cold in the permafrost, overflowing from her body, and the surrounding flowers and plants will soon wither. To see. Gradually, there was a hint of warmth in the icy body. The snow-white face also showed some vitality. Yang Kai kept calling her name, and even broke into her sea of a euro consciousness with divine sense, trying to wake her up. But even so, Zhu Qing didn't react at all. She didn't seem to be aware of any information from the outside world, her eyes were tightly closed, as if she had died. Yang Kai can only constantly urge Di Yuan to ease her crisis. I don't know how long it took, but the situation didn't get much better, after the medicinal effect of Emperor Pill came into play. The chill in Zhu Qing's body became strong again. The chill seemed to have its own life and could divide and multiply in her body. As long as there was a trace left, it could make a comeback. Yang Kai withdrew his hand and sighed, staring at the delicate face. After a long time, he seemed to have made up his mind and reached out and grabbed it in the void. A group of green rays of light suddenly appeared on his palm. The rays of light were emerald green. Although it is just a ray of light, it contains an unimaginable surging vitality. The essence of the tree of eternity. This time, Yang Kai didn't pick the leaves of the immortal tree. Because there are not many leaves left, if you pick them again, I am afraid that the young tree will become bare. Extracting the essence of the tree of eternity in this way will definitely damage the tree, but Yang Kai can't care so much about his life. You ask for more blessings. If this can't save you, then your life is indeed coming to an end. Yang Kai muttered to himself, squeezed Zhu Qing's mouth with one hand, and held the green light plug with the other, into her mouth. The green light turned into a drop of tree sap and rolled down Zhu Qing's throat into his belly. The dazzling light burst out suddenly, and Zhu Qing's body suddenly turned green at this moment. As if covered with moss, at the same time, her weak vitality also burst out suddenly, as if pouring oil into the fire. Chi chi chi. The coldness overflowed from Zhu Qing's pores like small insects, and melted with the green light on her body, making a dense sound. Yang Kai watched the changes, and divine sense was always investigating Zhu Qing's situation. As time passed, the chill overflowing from Zhu Qing's body became less and less, and the green light on the surface of her body became weaker and weaker. It seemed that the chill and the essence of the tree of eternity would be exhausted. And Zhu Qing's body gradually regained its vitality, and the exposed skin slowly turned red. Yang Kai secretly exhaled a sigh of relief, feeling that his efforts were not in vain. At a certain moment, when the last trace of chill in Zhu Qing's body was expelled, the green light that enveloped her also slowly faded away. The essence of the Tree of Eternity is not exhausted, but it will become the capital for Zhu Qing to become stronger in the future, lurking in her flesh and blood. She was lying on the ground, as if she could sleep forever. Yang Kai held his arms and stood beside her, condescendingly overlooking her, his eyes swept from head to toe, unscrupulous, savoring the time when he was holding her before. He couldn't help but feel a little excited. As expected of the Dragon Clan, this chest, this butt, this thigh. Yang Kai commented for a while, as if he was appreciating a piece of art. Suddenly a trace of evil spread in his heart, and he suffered such a big loss. Should he charge some interest? Anyway, it's not that this girl has never been frivolous, she is familiar with her life, and she is familiar with the road. Not sure. Maybe I can't live without this place for the rest of my life. I want to live with her here, and then give birth to a bunch of little dragons. An excited voice in his mind is clamoring, charging interest, be sure to charge some interest. With this thought, Yang Kai was startled, knowing that the suppressed desire was at work again. He quickly suppressed the impulse in his heart, but suddenly there was a lingering softness in his hand. Looking at it, Yang Kai couldn't help but be stunned. I don't know when my two hands covered Zhu Qing's chest. The breath became heavy. Yang Kai felt that the blood in his body was boiling, and the screaming voice in his mind became more powerful. His eyes were locked tightly under Zhu Qing's slender and fair neck, and he swallowed his saliva, as if walking in the desert. The traveler who had been there for several months saw a basin of clear water and wanted to plunge into it. The person in front of him suddenly opened his eyes and stared blankly at Yang Kai. Four eyes met. Yang Kai seemed to be poured from head to toe by a basin of cold water. The whole person woke up instantly, the corner of his mouth twitched, and smirked. If I tell you, this is a misunderstanding, do you believe it? Zhu Qing didn't respond at all, her clear eyes still stared at him coldly. Yang Kai stood up, frowned and pondered for a while, and then put on a hog meat posture. Okay, I just touched it, so what? If I touch it twice, I won't lose a piece of meat. Speaking of which, I saved my life. Your life. If I hadn't worked tirelessly to come to the frozen soil to find you and save you from the fire, you would have died, so the situation just now should be the gift I received. I think we should clear it up. That's fair, what do you think? Zhu Qing still did not respond. Yang Kai looked annoyed and said, can you give me some reaction? It seems that in response to Yang Kai's chatter, Zhu Qing really gave a reaction, but it was a little different from what Yang Kai expected. She opened her mouth, and a long, painful moan came from her throat, as if she was about to die, and then her whole body also curled up suddenly, and at the same time, her body was filled with an extremely cold breath. Yang Kai was shocked. Not yet. He thought that the essence of the Tree of Eternity had not dispelled the chill that had eroded into her body, but he soon realized that it was wrong. This chill was not the chill of permafrost. Although it was cold enough, it was somewhat different from the chill of permafrost. Not from the same source. Just when Yang Kai was at a loss, a high-pitched dragon roar came out, and then a phantom of a giant dragon emerged from Zhu Qing's body. Yang Kai stared blankly at the phantom of the giant dragon, doubting whether he was wrong. Zhu Qing is a red dragon in the Dragon Clan, so her dragon source power is the same as that of Zhu Lai. If she shows her true body, it must be a red dragon, but what appears in front of Yang Kai at this moment is actually a dragon, snow white and crystal clear giant dragon phantom. At first glance, the giant dragon looks like a lifelike ice sculpture. It has no flaws, but it has nothing to do with the red dragon. This is an ice dragon. This ice dragon has it. Yang Kai doubts whether he has mistaken someone, and whether Zhu Qing has twin sisters or something. There are people with similar appearances in the world, but as a dragon clan, the power of the source cannot go wrong. At this moment, another high-pitched dragon roar came out. When Yang Kai looked at it, he saw a phantom of a red dragon emerging, and the second dragon that appeared, actually came out of Zhu Qing's body. Yang Kai's face changed, all kinds of thoughts flashed in his mind, and he instantly understood a lot of things. Two origins. There are actually two origins in Zhu Qing's body, and they are two origins with diametrically opposite properties. The red dragon that appeared later was clearly Zhu Qing's source power, while the ice dragon that appeared first was just an intruder. The two source powers clashed in Zhu Qing's body, which caused her dragon essence to be disordered and showed signs of going crazy. Although Yang Kai had checked her situation before, he didn't notice it. It wasn't that he didn't check carefully enough, but the origin was hidden too deep, and Zhu Qing's body was seriously injured, but he ignored it. No wonder there is no major problem with the physical body, and Zhu Qing is still awake. It turns out that the real problem is not the physical body, but the battle between the two origins. So the question is, where did the origin of this ice dragon come from? To be continued. I would like to visit with a friend on a mobile phone. Chapter 2949. Be gentle. A normal dragon family cannot have two origin powers, especially two diametrically opposed origin powers. Ice and fire cannot coexist at all. If Zhu Qing had such two origins in his body, I am afraid that he would not be alive today. Between the lightning and flint, a bold guess appeared in Yang Kai's mind. The origin of the ice dragon might be the power left behind by the giant dragon that died in the permafrost. The reason why Zhu Qing came to the permafrost was not to find the bones of the clan, because Li Jiao had already said very clearly at the beginning that the bones of the giant dragon had already been turned into powder, and there was no residue left. Zhu Qing insisted on coming over, just to bring back the power of the source left by the clan. Now it seems that she found it, but was harmed by the source of the ice dragon. The power of the source has no thinking and no reason. It is just a kind of power. The two forces coexist in Zhu Qing's body, and there is a huge repulsion and confrontation instinctively. Using Zhu Qing's body as the battlefield, they fight with each other endlessly. Yang Kai can't see this kind of inner struggle, unless these two powers are directly revealed like this. And just when he was shocked, the two giant dragon figures roared together again, and then plunged into Zhu Qing's body and disappeared. Zhu Qing wailed in pain. At this moment, she was completely unconscious, and she was in a coma at all. The opening of her eyes just now was not a conscious control, but an instinctive reaction of her body. It can be seen with the naked eye that a thin layer of ice appeared on Zhu Qing's body, and the slightest chill overflowed from her flesh and blood, as if to completely freeze her. But soon there was a scorching power that permeated out, and the cold shock was scattered. Let Zhu Qing's whole person become like a fire. Her skin was red and hot, and even the ground on which she was lying was baked into scorched earth. The two forces appeared in Zhu Qing cyclically and alternately, and it seemed to never stop, and Zhu Qing's moan became more and more painful. Yang Kai was a little confused and didn't know what to do. If only injured, no matter how serious the injury is, he can always find a way to solve it, but in fact Zhu Qing received the treatment of the essence of the eternal tree, and there is not much injury on his body, but the two sources are fighting uncontrollably. As the physical body of the battlefield, it is bound to be severely damaged. The source of the source. Yang Kai's eyes lit up, he rushed up one step, and once again embraced Zhu Qing, letting her lean on his arms. Then silently urge his own golden holy dragon source power. The golden dragon shadow appeared behind him, disappeared in a flash, rushed into his body and disappeared. The temperature of Zhu Qing's body changed very fast. One moment it was as hot as fire, and the next moment it was like being picked up from the ice and snow, freezing to the bone. And when the aura of Jin Shenglong's origin was revealed, the speed of this alternating hot and cold suddenly slowed down. There is a play. Yang Kai was overjoyed. He was just trying it once, to see if his golden sacred dragon origin could have some suppressing effect, but now it seems to be effective. The most important thing now is to wake up Zhu Qing. Only when she stays awake can she fully activate the power of her own origin, suppress the origin of the ice dragon, and expel or kill it. So Yang Kai pressed against the tip of his tongue, urging the power of his soul, and when he was about to cast the spell, Zhu Qing suddenly hugged him tightly with his backhand. It seems that he has tasted some sweetness, and the breath of Yang Kai's body makes Zhu Qing subconsciously make the correct response. Although Zhu Qing's figure is petite and exquisite, she is a dragon clan after all, and her strength is not inferior to that of Yang Kai. When I first met her, Yang Kai experienced the ferocity of her strength. With this tightening, Yang Kai only felt that his body was about to be broken, and he couldn't help but turn blue. But the soft feeling from his chest made his heart rip. This is not over yet. Zhu Qing is actually like a puppy, arching around in his arms, sniffing constantly. A strange sound comes out of his throat. It seems that he has found some delicious food, and wants to eat it. When Yang Kai was bitten by lightning, he suddenly became extremely stiff. It was not until a burst of pain came from his chest that he suddenly woke up like a dream, pushed Zhu Qing's head away angrily, put his palm on her face, and hissed, "Are you a dog? How do you bite?" Zhu Qing's eyes were full of confusion, with a strange light, and her breathing became inexplicably fast. Yang Kai could clearly feel the hot breath she exhaled from her nostrils, and her delicate face was full of lust. Drops, exuding a kind of coquettishness that makes people unable to resist moths to the flames. Yang Kai's head was like tens of thousands of ants crawling past, itching hard to restrain. Zhu Qing opened her mouth again, and her white teeth were bitten on Yang Kai's tiger's mouth. This bite was so hard that she actually bit out a mark, and golden blood came out from the wound. The blood is like the most delicious food, Zhu Qing swallowed, and the small and warm tongue kept licking Yang Kai's palm, bringing a numb feeling. Yang Kai wanted to withdraw his hand, but she was so reluctant to do so. However, Yang Kai soon discovered a strange phenomenon. After swallowing his own blood, Zhu Qing's condition seemed to have improved a lot. The frequency of alternating hot and cold became slower and slower, and the cold breath continued. The time also became very fast, but it was suppressed by the heat in a flash. Her own blood seems to be of great help to her current state. After pondering for a while, Yang Kai vaguely understood. Although he is of human origin, after cultivating the dragon transformation art, he has begun to truly integrate with the source power of the golden sacred dragon. In other words, the bloodline in his body is no longer a pure human bloodline, but also some dragon bloodline, and it is an extremely advanced dragon bloodline. In the blood of the dragon family, the strong have a strong suppressing power over the weak. Jin Shenglong's source breath can help Zhu Qing alleviate the crisis, and her own half-dragon blood will naturally be more effective. No wonder Zhu Qing bites herself, presumably she has already noticed this, so she will do so. Of course Yang Kai could get rid of her, but he just stood there and let Zhu Qing drink his blood. Zhu Qing was still confused and did not regain her sanity. Her hazy eyes were full of charm, she swallowed Yang Kai's blood in a big mouth, and her dexterous tongue kept turning in circles on Yang Kai's palm. The evil thoughts in Yang Kai's body were about to erupt, and he needed to be desperately suppressed to stabilize his mind. He turned his eyes away, did not look at Zhu Qing's eyes, and did not feel the numbness in his palms, for fear of another accident. I don't know how long it took, he suddenly felt that Zhu Qing let go of his hand. When he opened his eyes, he saw Zhu Qing looking at him with a flushed face, and said in surprise, "How are you?" He could see that Zhu Qing should have woken up, and he should have regained his senses, because the information revealed in those eyes was a little different from just now. The answer to him was a dragon's secret technique. Zhu Qing opened his mouth, and a blood arrow spurted out. The blood was Zhu Qing's own blood, and it was dark red, like a burning flame. The strangely shaped talisman hit Yang Kai's forehead at once. Yang Kai was at a loss, and fell straight down. This Dragon Clan secret technique seems to have a very strong binding force, so that Yang Kai can't even move his fingers. Although the Dragon Clan secret technique that Zhu Qing displayed was powerful, Yang Kai felt that the suppression of the golden sacred dragon's source power should be able to be released. Just now, he was caught off guard. Yang Kai didn't expect her to attack him, so he was hit by the trick. However, he did not act immediately, because a fragrance suddenly rushed towards his face. Zhu Qing was already kneeling between his legs, with both hands on his chest, looking at him condescendingly. Her fiery red hair was like the most exquisite. The silk is spread on her smooth back, covering her pretty buttocks but adding a seductive charm. Her breathing was extremely rapid, as if she was about to die. That kind of mind-blowing fragrance is getting stronger and stronger, as if every pore of hers can emit such a fragrance to fill the whole world. The long eyelashes were shaking, and she was obviously nervous, but her eyes were like a stirred pool of water, showing extreme restlessness and struggle. What are you going to do?" Yang Kai felt silly asking as soon as he said it. He recognized such a look. It was a look that was looking for food with extreme hunger, and Shan Qinglo would often show such a look back then. His blood seemed to be ignited all of a sudden, and it began to boil in the flesh and blood of the meridians, causing people to burn like fire. The evil thoughts that had been suppressed for a long time suddenly found an outlet and drowned his reason. The two small hands on his chest slammed violently, tearing his clothes directly. Yang Kai took a breath, opened his mouth but said nothing. The clothes were quickly messed up, and the clothes wrapped around the two quickly turned into pieces, flying in the sky. Zhu Qing kept making strange sounds in her throat, and her fiery body was riding on Yang Kai, twisting restlessly. She knew what she wanted, but she had never had such an experience, and it took a long time to gradually grasp the method. Her pure white body sank slightly, her teeth nibbled at her red lips, and her brows were tight. Yang Kai closed his eyes, spread his hands, grabbed the grass around him, and said in a low voice, "This is my first time, be gentle." Zhu Qing's body sank suddenly, and an abnormal blush appeared on her snow-white skin. She held her head high as if suffocated, her hair fell like a waterfall, and there was no response for a long time, and she screamed after a long time. Heartbreaking. Yang Kai also roared. He felt like he fell into the magma, and the unimaginable scorching heat wrapped him in all directions, as if to melt him. This feeling has never been experienced before, giving people an indescribable thrill. In the Shaoshuan realm, the sky is the quilt, the ground is the bed, the hair is messy, and the fingers are intertwined. You are not allowed to live in prosperity and wealth, and you are not allowed to accompany each other in the next life. Wherever you are in love, who can take care of who? To be continued. Chapter 2950. I don't believe you anymore. The wind and rain are lingering, how much charming, softly whispering, everything yesterday seems to be a dream. The long eyelashes fluttered a few times, and Zhu Qing slowly opened her eyes, just in time to see a pair of smiling eyes. The man who appeared in the dream was lying on the grass, with his head resting on his arms, looking at him with a smile, his eyes filled with inexplicable taste. As for himself, he was lying on his body, and he didn't know how long he had slept. Without a piece of her body, naked, feeling the warmth of the opponent's skin, Zhu Qing couldn't help but screamed and wanted to get up. Just as her body moved, she fell down again and involuntarily covered her lower abdomen, sweating from her painful forehead. Don't move. Yang Kai reached out and wrapped his arms around her waist, his big hands unscrupulously wandering over the smooth back and waist. Zhu Qing let out a muffled snort, and the fiery red color climbed up her cheeks, like two clouds. The intimate touch and caress of the opposite sex made her focus all of a sudden, only feeling limp and unable to exert her strength. What did you do to me? She gritted her teeth and asked, tears welling in her eyes. Hey! Yang Kai stopped the movement of his hands, and he didn't know whether it was intentional or unintentional. He just placed it on that pretty round buttocks, and said with a displeased face, "Isn't it right for you to ask this? You did it yourself. Don't you remember anything?" Zhu Qing opened her mouth, her face changed constantly, the scene in the dream gradually became clear, the blood on her face faded slowly, and her delicate body couldn't help trembling. I remembered, and slowly everything came to my mind. She came to the frozen soil and found the lost mass of dragon origin, but something happened when she collected it. For some reason, the ice dragon origin refused to cooperate, and instead escaped to the depths of the frozen soil. She tracked it all the way. After going through hardships, she finally caught up with it, and when she was about to subdue it again, the ice dragon's origin rushed into her body, conflicting with her own origin. In desperation, she could only find a quiet place to resolve the crisis. If there is no interference, she should be fine. But a sudden disaster disrupted her plan. She felt a force approaching, and before she had time to escape, she fell into darkness. After that, it happened in the dream. Your blood. Zhu Qing understood everything. What? Yang Kai asked. Zhu Qing gritted her teeth, and tears rolled down her cheeks. Why are there so many evil thoughts in your blood? What are you thinking about every day? If she hadn't drank his blood and been influenced by his evil thoughts, how could she have done this? The shameless thing in the dream. Blame me. Yang Kai was speechless. I didn't ask you to drink it, it was you who insisted on biting. I was at that time. I'll kill you. Zhu Qing wanted to make a move when she spoke, but she felt pain from her lower abdomen when she moved slightly, making her unable to mobilize any strength at all. Yesterday seemed too crazy. Yang Kai sneered. Do you want to deny it after eating it all? And you actually want to kill me? This is the first time I have seen a woman like you. While speaking, with a slight effort, he rolled Zhu Qing down, supported her body with his arms, and leaned against her side. Zhu Qing looked at him nervously, and said in a trembling voice, "What are you doing?" This aggressive posture made her feel uncomfortable, and the arrogance of the dragon clan could not be displayed at all. Yang Kai put his hand on her lower abdomen, rubbing it gently, and the Emperor Yuan poured into her body through the palm of his hand, relieving her discomfort. It's the first time for everyone, so it's inevitable that you don't know how to control yourself. It's good to get used to it gradually. Well, I don't know what you think, but I think that since things are already like this, it's useless to blame others. Look at me. Although you are a human race, you are not bad, right? I have seen myself for decades, and the more handsome I look, the more handsome you are. Although your temper is not very good, it is also so-so. Can we make room for each other, and everything must be there as a beginning and an end? Zhu Qing was a little distracted by his serious look. Ever since she met Yang Kai, this is the first time Zhu Qing has seen his expression like this. The big hand rubbing on her lower abdomen seems to have a very magic power, which can destroy all solid defenses, and it will appear in her heart. The endless ripples made it impossible for people to calm down and think. You want to be responsible? Zhu Qing asked softly, not knowing why she could no longer ignite anger. No, you are responsible for me, Yang Kai said seriously. Zhu Qing felt that these words were both angry and funny, so she pretended to be cold and said, why should I be responsible to you, what are you? Yang Kai asked without answering, do you feel better? It's much better. Zhu Qing nodded, and suddenly realized that the topic had been taken astray, and couldn't help but stare. Yang Kai said again, do you want to do it again? The topic changed a little quickly, but Zhu Qing's aura that had just been gathered suddenly dissipated, and the warmth in her lower abdomen spread rapidly like a prairie fire, making her whole body hot. The long eyelashes trembled, and before Zhu Qing had time to make a statement, Yang Kai let out a low growl, got on his horse, raised his gun and went into battle, attacking the city and plundering the land all the way, killing the enemies who threw away their armor and begged for forgiveness. Half a day later, Zhu Qing was lying on the ground with a look of lost soul, her hair was disheveled, and she said weakly, please, let me put on my clothes. I'll help you. Yang Kai grinned like a ladle. No, that's what you said just now, I don't believe you anymore. This time the promise is true. Don't lie to me again. I will never lie to you. A day later, Zhu Qing curled up in Yang Kai's arms, quietly like a sleeping cat, breathing slowly, she suddenly said, the future is long, let's call it a day. Yang opened his mouth, let go of me, I'm getting dressed. Kindness, what are you going to do to let me go? Again, the last time, another day later, and I don't know how many last times they have experienced, the two finally washed their bodies and dressed neatly. Zhu Qing felt a little unwell, and sat quietly on the ground, facing the clear pool of water in front of her, brushing her long hair, looking at the photocopier. The figure in the pool seemed a little melancholy, but the corners of her brows couldn't help it. Some upside. Yang Kai stretched his waist, and there was a burst of crackling sound from all the bones in his body. He felt an indescribable refreshing flow all over his body. He looked down at the person in front of him, and then stretched out his hand to wrap her around her gently from behind. Zhu Qing's body trembled slightly, and she didn't relax until she found that Yang Kai didn't show any signs of moving, just buried her head in her hair and took a deep breath. How many? Zhu Qing suddenly asked. Yang Kai raised his head, put his chin on her shoulder, stared at the figures in the pool, and asked blankly, what are they? Zhu Qing sighed leisurely and said, which one am I? The first one, didn't I tell you before? Yang Kai said seriously. Zhu Qing snorted softly and said, so many tricks, you used to play with yourself. And after these few days, do you think I will trust you easily? Yang Kai looked sad. We are all like this, why don't you trust me? I am very hurt. Zhu Qing grabbed his big hand that was slowly moving towards his chest, and turned her head, with a sneer on the corner of her mouth. This is the only chance to confess, you have to think clearly before answering. Yang Kai blinked, looked at the charming face that was close at hand, and then kissed it down. Oh, you bastard. Zhu Qing struggled hard, but the strength in her hand was getting weaker and weaker. The clothes that had just been neatly dressed were messy again. I'm really fed up with you. Zhu Qing, who was dressed again, said angrily, seeing that Yang Kai still wanted to come. She quickly pointed at him and said, don't come near me within 10 days, or I will break with you and die of old age. No relationship. Okay. Yang Kai raised his hands in surrender. Don't be nervous, I won't be close to you. Zhu Qing raised her brows upside down, secretly feeling sulky, and then her face turned pale. In fact, she was even more angry with herself. Facing this man who had her skin-to-skin contact for the first time, she couldn't think of much resistance, giving and taking. This is not what the Dragon Clan should do. I won't ask about the past, and no one can say for sure about the future. Just do what you want. I only have one request. If I don't agree, don't force me. Zhu Qing looked at Yang seriously. Open. Yang Kai nodded and said, depending on you. The only complaint in Zhu Qing's heart disappeared in an instant. How are you doing now? The origin of the ice dragon won't cause any harm, right? Yang Kai asked anxiously. Although Zhu Qing's state has been very stable these few days, the origin of the ice dragon is still in her body after all, so she has to guard against it. It's all right now, the origin of the ice dragon has been suppressed by me, and it will be put into the dragon tomb when it arrives on Dragon Island. A blush suddenly appeared on Zhu Qing's face, making Yang Kai look puzzled. After a pause, she asked, "Did you come to find me on purpose?" Yang Kai Dao, "If I don't come to find you, what am I doing in the permafrost? This ghostly place really deserves to be a forbidden place for life. If it's not for good luck, I don't know when I will find you." He said it casually, but Zhu Qing suddenly felt a sweet feeling, and her chest was full of warmth. "Oh yes, your brother is here too." Zhu Qing frowned and said, "My brother? Zhu Lai?" "Yes, that kid. If he hadn't performed a trick of the Dragon Clan's secret technique, I wouldn't have been able to find you." "He didn't ask you to follow Long Island?" Yang Kai sneered and said, "He wanted to do this, but after being taught a lesson by me, he became more honest. Although the kid is crazy, but his skills are not very good, your husband, I will beat him up in 2 or 3 gone." "What husband?" Zhu Qing blushed a little when she heard that, and couldn't help giving him a look, all kinds of flirtatious. Yang Kai's eyeballs straightened again. A poll was set up in the official account yesterday, and everyone actively participated in it. "I can feel your intentions, so I just ask, this. Down, full, foot, up, bar, V-letter search, Momo Benzun, add, close, note. Ida Euro-S the end of the month, and when everyone a Euro-S blood is boiling and delirious, please ask for a recommendation ticket and a monthly ticket, and kneel down for support." Chapter 2951 Runner Realm. Zhu Qing sensed that something was wrong, and quickly changed the subject. "What about others?" Yang Kai shook his head and said, "I don't know where it went, the cold wave hit, we were all involved, brought into a small world, and I was separated from him. But he should not be in danger, so don't worry." Quote. Xiaoshindi. Zhu Qing was startled, recalling her hazy feeling before, and then suddenly realized that the irresistible crisis was actually involved in Xiaoshindi. She turned her head and looked around, and said, "This is it, that small world. It looks good. In mysterious Xiaoji, birds singing and flowers are full of aura, and the environment is really good, especially after the 5-color pagoda. Mysterious Xiaoji has undergone fundamental changes. This place is a world of its own, with complete laws of heaven and earth, a truly blessed land and caves." Ha ha. Yang Kai shook his head with a smile and said, "This is not that small world, this is another one, the one belongs to me, huh." Halfway through the conversation, Yang Kai suddenly turned his head and looked in one direction, as if he had discovered something unusual. Zhu Qing said, "What's wrong?" Yang Kai pondered for a moment and said, "I'll show you something interesting." While speaking, he suddenly stretched out his hand in a certain direction, and Zhu Qing stared and watched curiously, and then saw a black, puppy-like thing appearing in front of her out of thin air. As soon as the little black dog appeared, it barked a few times, as if it had been greatly frightened, but seeing it wagging its head and tail, full of energy, the previous weakness was gone. Where did the little demon come from? It's so ugly. Zhu Qing stared at the little black dog, glanced at Yang Kai, and teased, "Same as you." Yang Kai shook his head slowly, "It's not an ordinary little demon." "What's so special about it?" Zhu Qing frowned. "You are a dragon clan, observe carefully." Yang Kai mentioned the little black dog in front of him while talking. And after hearing Yang Kai's voice, the little black dog seemed to calm down, staring at him with a pair of dark eyes. Ha Kai showed a flattering expression, and the saliva flowed down his big tongue, looking extremely disgusting. Zhu Qing finally found something unusual. He hesitated. "It seems to have some powerful blood, but it's not pure. Dragons are bound by blood." He also has a lot of research on the bloodlines. After the little black dog was activated by Gong Jia's secret technique, it left some traces. Zhu Qing can see it through this. Warcraft Return to the Ruins, have you heard of it? Yang Kai asked. Zhu Qing shook her head blankly. Yang Kai Dao, it's the first time I've heard of it before, but I've seen how powerful it is. While talking about it, he shook the little black dog vigorously and said, "Boy, show your hand and have a look." "Wow, don't be stupid, it's the trick you used before. The kind that can open your mouth at once. If you dare to refuse, I will stew you and eat you." "Wow." Zhu Qing put her hand on her forehead and said, "Its intelligence is not yet developed, but it just understands some human nature. If you tell it like this, it won't understand." Yang Kai sneered. I know if I understand it or not. But, forget it, if you don't understand it, you don't understand it. You are lucky, but you really came back to life. While speaking, he let go of his hand, and the little black dog fell to the ground. Turning his head to look at Yang Kai, then at Zhu Qing, he walked slowly to Yang Kai's feet and climbed down. Zhu Qing covered her mouth and smiled coquettishly. It seems to like you very much. Pretending to be cute, Yang Kai kicked the little black dog. It is also indifferent. Yang Kai ignored it, raised his head and said to Zhu Qing, let's go out first, we have to find out where this place is, and I don't know if we can return to the star realm. It's not that serious, aren't you proficient in the laws of space? Zhu Qing felt that Yang Kai was a bit alarmist, but she didn't have any sense of crisis at all, and always felt that no matter where she was, as long as she could be with this man. Yang Kai smiled, thinking about it. Then she took Zhu Qing and left mysterious Xiaoji together. Returning to the previous cave, Yang Kai looked at Zhu Qing with a smile and said, should I carry you behind my back? I don't know where it is. I have to find out if there is anyone here, and find out some news. Row. Zhu Qing blushed slightly and said, I'm not that weak yet. During the conversation, so she took the lead and walked out of the cave. Although her steps were light, she seemed to frown every time she took a step. Yang Kai snickered unceasingly, then suddenly lowered his face and said, you are so annoying. Zhu Qing's delicate body trembled, her face paled in an instant, and she said in a trembling voice, you think I'm bored so soon? Yang Kai hurriedly said, it's not you, it's this guy. When the words fell, a dog barking came out. The little black dog was thrown out of mysterious small world, and after falling to the ground, it barked at Yang Kai angrily, as if why didn't you take me away? Okay, stop screaming, and throw you back if you scream again. Yang Kai said impatiently. The little black dog's barking stopped abruptly, and he ran out quickly, past Zhu Qing, and was the first to rush out of the cave. Zhu Qing couldn't help but heaved a sigh of relief. Yang Kai stepped forward to hug her. She struggled a little, but didn't insist anymore. After exiting the cave, a vast expanse of whiteness appeared before the eyes. At first glance, this place was not much different from frozen soil, but both Yang Kai and Zhu Qing knew that this place was not frozen soil. Because there is no such severe cold that even they can't resist. Woof! The little black dog barked from far to near, looking very flustered, as if something terrible happened. Yang Kai's spiritual sense swept out, and soon his face showed joy. Zhu Qing undoubtedly also discovered this. She was not used to being so intimate with Yang Kai in front of people, and opened a little distance without any trace. A black shadow flashed past, and the little black dog went and returned. Behind it were two vigorous figures, a man and a woman, both exuding extremely strong energy fluctuations. When they met Yang Kai and Zhu Qing, the man and woman were obviously taken aback, because they had carefully checked the area before, and they didn't even notice that there was a living person's breath, and they didn't expect that there would be two more people at some point. If this is the enemy, the two secretly broke out in a cold sweat. The little black dog quickly circled behind Yang Kai and hid, hiding tightly. Yang Kai stepped forward and cupped his fists and said, I met two friends. This man and a woman, although their cultivations are good, are only at the level of Tao origin stage, so Yang Kai doesn't care too much, but it's rare to meet a living person here, so naturally he wants to quickly inquire about the information. The man and woman looked at each other. The man clasped his fists in return, frowned and said, the two of you own that little beast. He was at the Tao origin realm, and when facing Yang Kai, the Emperor Senior realm, his face didn't change, but he still had a questioning taste, which made Yang Kai a little surprised. This kind of thing is rare in the star world. Unless the identity of the other party has a lot of origin, it can be seen that the clothes of this man and woman do not seem to have any origin, just like that ordinary warrior. As a newcomer, Yang Kai could only do as the Romans do. He nodded with a smile and said, that's right, Ah Wang's spiritual intelligence is not yet developed, and he is stubborn by nature, please forgive me if I offend you. The man shook his head. His spiritual sense crossed Yang Kai to check the little black dog carefully, and after a while he said, maybe I was wrong, it didn't offend my husband and wife, it was just a misunderstanding, what do you call it? Yang Kai, in this foreign land, there is no need to hide his name. At this moment, the woman who had been standing next to the man suddenly whispered something to her husband through voice transmission. The man was stunned for a moment, then looked at Yang Kai in amazement and said, you two are from outside. €. If his wife hadn't reminded him, he might not have noticed this, because the clothes of the two people in front of him were slightly different from his own. Yang Kai smiled bitterly. It is indeed from outside. The man nodded and said, our place has not been visited by outsiders for a long time. It seems that your luck is not very good. Just about to ask where is this place? Yang Kai asked solemnly. The man said, this place is called the Wheel Realm. Turning Wheel Realm, Yang Kai frowned, and when he wanted to ask something more, the man said, if you want to survive, hurry up and follow me, there is not enough time. What time? Yang Kai was stunned. The man didn't answer what he meant. After saying that, he turned around and flew in a certain direction. It seemed that he was really in a hurry. This is the first time for Yang Kai to encounter such a temperamental Dao Source realm, not only talking in front of the Emperor Senior realm, but also a high-ranking look, but it is a clue anyway, it can't just be broken, and Zhu Qing looks at each other after one glance, he followed immediately. The strength of the two is not bad, so naturally they are not afraid of what the other party's small source of Dao will do. The little black dog chased after him while shaking, and the little black dog was nimble, biting Yang Kai's clothes, and followed him tightly, trying not to be thrown off by him, and he didn't let go even after the strong wind poured into his mouth. Zhu Qing looked at it pitifully, and reached out to fish it over. A group of 4 people, galloping like lightning, came to a mountain wall very quickly. This mountain wall was inconspicuous at first glance, but if one looked carefully, there were traces left by secret techniques. The leading man took out a mirror, and shot a mysterious light from the mirror to print on the mountain wall. Immediately, a cave for 2 people to pass through appeared. 4 people filed in and entered a dry passage. Until this time, the man and woman exhaled lightly, with a look of relief. Yang Kai asked curiously, why are we in such a hurry? While leading the way, the man explained, because after a while, the laws of heaven and earth will change, and when the monsters come out, the outside will become very dangerous, and no one can survive in such an environment. Quote, the law of heaven and earth has changed. Yang Kai was startled, wondering if he heard it wrong. To be continued. Chapter 2952 Why are you so stubborn? The law of heaven and earth is the supreme power, the foundation that maintains everything in the world, and it is absolutely impossible for this fundamental to change in a short period of time, unless the end of the world comes, but the other party looks so convincing that he doesn't seem to be lying, is simply unacceptable. Hurry up, what are you still dawdling over there? A low shout came from the cave suddenly. Yang Kai raised his eyebrows, there were still people in the cave. After hearing this person's urging, the pair of men and women hurried towards the depths of the cave. Yang Kai winked at Zhu Qing, and hurriedly followed. A faint light bloomed, and in a not-so-spacious stone room, a middle-aged man stood there with a gloomy expression, as if he was waiting for something. Guard Liao. The man who led Yang Kai stepped forward, cupped his fists and saluted the man with a respectful attitude. But Liao Guanxi didn't look at him directly, he just stared at Yang Kai and Zhu Qing who were following him curiously, and said in surprise, why are there 2 more people? Where did they come from? It looks a little strange. €. The man replied, they seem to have strayed in from the outside, just happened to meet us, and brought them here together. Come from outside? Liao Guanxi was amazed, he kept looking at the 2 strange faces, he didn't have any special reaction when he saw Yang Kai. But when he saw Zhu Qing, he couldn't help but his eyes lit up, showing a look of interest. Zhu Qing was naturally beautiful, and she was moistened by the rain and dew for a few days. At this moment, she is at her most delicate and beautiful, and she looks naturally very attractive. Zhu Qing's expression was cold, although she didn't like being stared at by such eyes, she didn't get angry. Yang Kai stood in front of her, blocking the man's gaze. Liao Guanxi snorted coldly, his face was rather displeased. The guys from outside just don't understand the rules. He looked up at the man and said, you don't know the rules, do you? The man hurriedly said, Lao Liao is in charge. Guanxi Lao's expression turned pale. Give this couple a wave. The 2 immediately took a step forward, only to see Liao Guanxi suddenly chanting words, urging their own strength. Pointing to the sword, Ling Kong pointed back and forth in front of the man. Yang Kai stared blankly, because he actually saw some traces of witchcraft in it, which made him a little curious, and he paid more and more attention to it. Not long after, a complex imprint suddenly appeared in the void. Liao Guanxi stretched out his hand and slapped it, and the imprint directly entered the man's body. The imprint seemed to be used for other purposes, and it did not attack. The man just shook his body slightly and he was fine. When it was the woman's turn, Liao Guanxi had a rare smile on his cold face, but the woman looked nervous and looked at her husband for help. The man shook his head slowly, his eyes lowered. Liao Guanxi did the same thing, but this time his hands and feet were a bit dishonest. When pointing his sword back and forth, he touched the woman's body from time to time, and occasionally swept across the plump breasts, causing the woman's delicate body to tremble slightly. The man ignored it. Stand aside and watch your nose and nose. Liao Guanxi was in a happy mood, and his hand movements became more and more wanton, which made the woman's face more and more ugly. But he can only be patient. Not long after, the imprint was formed again. Liao Guanxi patted the imprint into the woman's body with some reluctance, and leisurely withdrew his hand. The woman's stiff body relaxed, and she gave her husband a wrong look. Turning his head, Liao Guanxi's face immediately turned cold. He looked at Yang Kai and said, "Since you are from outside, then I will tell you the rules here." Yang Kai looked at him with a smile and said, "Please enlighten me." Liao Guanxi said, "In a while. The laws of heaven and earth are about to change. There is no safe place in the entire real world except the human imperial city, so if you want to survive, you must go to the human imperial city, understand?" "Understood, go to the imperial city." Yang Kai looked taut. Guanxi Liao continued, "If you want to go to the human emperor city, you must be given the human emperor's seal by this manager. Only those who have the human emperor's seal can be sent to the human emperor's city through the magic circle, so there is only one rule here. The sky is big and the earth is big, and this is the biggest thing in charge." Yang Kai snorted, clasped his fists and said, "Taut." Steward Liao waved his sleeves, and sipped with his hands behind his back. "This steward asks you, do you want to die or live?" Yang Kai smiled and said, "If you can live, you must live." Liao Guanxi nodded and said, "Young children can be taught, come here, let me impress you with the emperor's seal." Yang Kai stepped forward, but Liao Guanxi waved his hands in disgust. "Women come first, you stand aside." Yang Kai frowned, but didn't insist. He backed off and said at the same time, "Guard Liao, please be careful, my wife has a bad temper." Guanxi Liao snorted coldly, "If you want to survive, you need to be acquainted." While speaking, the sound of incantations sounded again in his mouth, and he pointed like a sword. Ling Kong pointed back and forth in front of Zhu Qing, and it seemed that he was portraying something in the air. At the beginning, he was quite honest, but after a while the range of motion of the hand became larger, and when he swept his finger, he swiped directly towards Zhu Qing's chest, and his expression became extremely excited at this moment, obviously looking forward to something. Zhu Qing suddenly raised her eyes and stared at him coldly. Liao Guanxi was startled, but his movements did not stop at all, as if he was trying to take advantage. "Wow, what?" The sound of barking and screaming sounded almost at the same time, and the little black dog that had been held by Zhu Qing suddenly opened its mouth and bit Guanxi Liao's big hand. All his hands were swallowed in, and the sharp teeth were firmly stuck on his wrist, and blood flowed down instantly. Liao Guanxi suffered from pain and howled miserably, but the little black dog refused to let go. He was about to bite off his hand, his head kept shaking, and he let out a low growl like a demonstration. "Let go, let me go. You little bastard is looking for death." Guanxi Liao cursed a few times, unable to break free, and slapped the little black dog hard. When the energy surged, there was a thunder and lightning flash in the cave. Yang Kai flicked his fingers, and a burst of energy pierced the air. Liao Guanxi let out another miserable howl, and his swung arms drooped limply. You dare to attack me." Liao Guanxi turned his head, looked at Yang Kai with resentment, gritted his teeth and roared. He hadn't encountered such a thing for a long time, and he was always the only one who bossed around and got what he wanted, but he didn't expect to be kicked on the iron plate this time. A change happened in the blink of an eye, and the pair of men who led Yang Kai and Zhu Qing over were also taken aback. Seeing that Liao Guanxi was at a disadvantage, the man hurriedly said, "Stop. Don't hurt him." The woman finally said, "Don't hit him, you will regret it." This was the first time she spoke, and there was indescribable anxiety in her voice. Liao Guanxi also rushed to them and said, "Hurry up, kill these two people for me, or I will convict you together." The man and woman were stunned for a while, their faces were pale for a while, as if they had committed some catastrophe, and they were at a loss for a while. "Why are you so obsessed?" Yang Kai walked up to Steward Liao, stared at him curiously, and said, "Tell me, why are you so obsessed?" A mere Daoyuan first-level realm dares to stand in front of this young master, presumptuous. Guanxi Lao's forehead was covered with cold sweat. He struggled several times but failed to break free from the restraint of the little black dog. He sneered and said, "Why? Just because I am the steward, because I control the seal of the emperor." Yang Kai turned his head to look at the pair of men and women, and said, "What kind of seal is it because of this? So even if you are bullied, you have to swallow your anger. This guy is not as strong as you." The man bowed his head and said, "Without the emperor's seal, you can't enter the emperor's city, and if you can't enter the emperor's city, you will die." Yang Kai sneered and said, "How happy is life, why should death be afraid? After all, he is also a man, and his wife dare not resist being bullied face to face, so it is better to die." He turned his head and winked at Zhu Qing, saying, "Qinger, don't worry, even if your husband dies, I won't let you lose a hair." Zhu Qing pursed her lips and said, "Stop being so glib, I didn't see you make a move just now." Yang Kai smiled and said, "A piece of garbage, you sprayed him to death in one breath, why do I need to take action?" Zhu Qing snorted and said no more. The man was extremely ashamed and indignant by Yang Kai's words. The woman stepped forward and took his hand, looked at Yang Kai and said, "You are newcomers, don't talk nonsense if you don't understand what's going on here. It's better to let Guanxi Liao go quickly, or else you have no way to gain a foothold in Human Emperor City." Guanxi Liao also got excited, and sternly shouted, "Newcomers always have to suffer a little before they know the rules. Let go quickly, or I will kill you without a place to bury you." Yang Kai asked with a smile, "If you let it go, can you calm down?" Guanxi Liao said, "Don't think about it, I'm the emperor's person. If you dare to hurt this person, Human Emperor City won't accept you, but you woman. If you can follow this person, it might be a way out. Your IQ is flawed." Yang Kai looked at him speechlessly, and threatened him when he was about to die, "I really don't know what this guy is thinking." Zhu Qing shouted in a low voice, "Ah Wang bit him." Hearing the order, the little black dog felt as if divinely assisted, its mouth split open suddenly, and suddenly it became extremely huge, and swallowed Guanxi Liao into its stomach in one gulp, and finally stretched out its big tongue to lick its mouth, as if it still hadn't finished. It was the first time that Zhu Qing saw the little black dog using such supernatural powers, and she couldn't help being stunned for a moment. She just wanted the little black dog to work harder, but she never thought that she would swallow people directly. What kind of supernatural power is this? When the man and woman saw each other, their faces changed, and they said in horror, "Warcraft. It's really a monster." The reason why they chased the little black dog before was because they felt that this thing had the aura of a monster, but in the end it was confirmed that it was just their own illusion, but now it seems that it is not an illusion, but the little black dog's devilish energy is hidden too deeply. When the mutation happened just now, there was an obvious surge of devilish energy, which made them recognize it immediately. To be continued. Chapter 2953 Human Imperial City. Yang Kai glanced at them curiously, "Do you recognize Warcraft?" The man immediately protected his wife behind him, looked at Yang Kai vigilantly and said, "Are you a demon?" Yang Kai was really amazed at this time. This guy can say the word, Warcraft, but he also knows about the demon race, which seems a bit unusual. The man became more and more vigilant, and he gritted his teeth and said, "Are you from the city of Demon Fury?" Yang Kai shook his head and said, "I don't know what Demon Fury City is, nor what demon race, you probably misunderstood." While talking, he suddenly frowned, because at this moment he suddenly felt the world vibrate, and the laws of the world around him seemed to start to distort and change. He glanced at Zhu Qing, and Zhu Qing also showed a look of surprise. The laws of heaven and earth have really begun to change, and it must be a huge change, so there are such obvious signs. "You kill us." The man's face was ashen, and he had no desire to survive. Liao Guanxi was swallowed by a monster, and two guys who were suspected to be demons suddenly appeared in front of him. They were powerful, and they had no on the way to life. He hugged his wife tightly, just wanting to enjoy a moment of tenderness before dying. "It's very simple to want to die, I don't need to do it." Yang Kai stepped forward and walked in front of a magic circle. There was nothing else in this cave, only this magic circle stood here, so it was very conspicuous. He pointed at the magic circle. The magic circle said, "Can you teleport to Human Emperor City here?" The man looked over sadly, nodded and said, "Yes." Yang Kai's spiritual sense was released, and after some investigation, he said, "Space magic circle, but it seems to be a little different. The man said, "It's useless, if you want to activate this magic circle, you must have the Emperor's seal." "Don't you have the Emperor's seal? Why don't you leave?" Yang Kai turned to look at them. The man said, "It must be the Emperor's seal on Guanxi Lao's body. That is the main seal. Only the main seal can activate the operation of the magic circle. The ones on us are only auxiliary seals, and there is no way to activate the magic circle." "So that's the case." Yang Kai nodded to express his understanding. Seeing that he didn't do it for a long time, but was seriously studying the magic circle, the man hesitated and said, "Are you really not a demon?" Yang Kai replied while checking the magic circle, "Is there a demon race in this world?" The man said, "Yes, my human race is against the demon race, and I have been living in this world for countless years." "It looks like you really don't look like a demon race, but why is there a monster beside you?" Yang Kai didn't answer his question. The origin of the little black dog was a bit bizarre, and it was a bit troublesome to explain. He asked, "Humans and demons coexist, it's hard for you to survive." The man said, "The human imperial city provides shelter, without the human imperial city, we would have no way of surviving." Yang Kai asked thoughtfully, "Is it related to the transformation of the laws of heaven and earth?" "That's right. After a while, the laws of heaven and earth will change. At that time, the human race will not be suitable for walking outside, but the demon race will be able to enjoy themselves in it. During this period of time, no one dares to leave the human imperial city at will. Otherwise, you will be close to death. Then the law of heaven and earth before is suitable for the survival of the human race, and the demon race needs to be dormant. As such that, it's really a magical world." Yang Kai had a surprised expression on his face. The man smiled wryly and said, "We have been here since we were born, no one knows why this world is like this, maybe only the Lord Human Emperor can understand a thing or two." Human Emperor. Yang Kai heard the man mention these two words several times, and couldn't help but think, is that the master of Human Emperor City? The man said solemnly, "That's the lord of the human race. He protects the Human Emperor's city, and protects all the human races." His words were full of respect, as if he highly respected this human emperor. Yang Kai smiled slightly and continued to lower his head to study the formation. The transformation of the law of heaven and earth became more and more obvious, and a large amount of demonic energy and other strange things were bred in the surrounding void. Although the driving force of the couple formed a layer of protection on the surface of the body, it seemed it doesn't look like it can last long at all. Once the protection is broken, it will be corroded by the magic energy immediately and reduced to a monster. Zhu Qing is from the Dragon Clan, so it doesn't make much sense, but she also needs to mobilize the Dragon Yuan to diffuse the erosion of the demon energy. Only the little black dog, with bright eyes and fluttering nose, kept sniffing around, looking quite excited. It has the blood of Guishu, and it is a descendant of a monster in the demon realm. When the demonic energy surges, it naturally feels cordial and joyful. "Okay, come here." Yang Kai suddenly got up and greeted. Zhu Qing walked over to stand beside him with the little black dog in her arms. The pair of men hesitated. The man said, "What are you going to do?" "Take you to the human imperial city." The man was startled. "You don't have the emperor's seal, how can you get to the imperial city?" Yang Kai sneered. "Who told you that you can't go to the human emperor city without the human emperor's seal? If you continue to grind, it will be too late. Do you want to die?" The man still hesitated, but the woman gave him a hand. The man finally made up his mind and said in a low voice, "Okay, I'll trust you once." Yang Kai grinned. "I hope you can keep the matter of Liao Guanxi a secret." The man smiled wryly and said, "Speaking out will do us no good, not to mention. Human Imperial City has its own way to find out the truth. In fact, I think you should not go to Human Imperial City. If you really go in, no matter how strong you are, it's no use either." "That's not sure." When Yang Kai finished speaking, his expression suddenly became solemn, and the law of space came out abruptly. The place where the four people stand is a space magic circle, which is connected to the human emperor city. Under normal circumstances, it is necessary for someone like Liao Guanxi to brand the human emperor's seal on the person who sent it, and then he will activate the space magic circle to carry out the process. Send. But these cumbersome steps are just layers of camouflage. It is the means of human imperial city to control the human race. In front of Yang Kai, who is proficient in the law of space, this layer of camouflage is easily peeled off. He directly opened up the other end of the space law circle with his mind and the law of space, and he didn't need any human emperor's seal at all. The ray of light shone, and the eyes of the man and woman widened. It was unbelievable that the space magic circle had really started to work. They couldn't help but feel happy for a while, adding to the feeling of escaping death. The changes in the laws of the surrounding world have been extremely obvious, and the aura of the whole world has turned into demonic energy. In such an environment, the human race is indeed not suitable for survival. Under the environment, there will always be a moment when the power is exhausted. At that time, you will be eroded by the devilish energy, lose your mind, and become a devil. After a while, the light in the cave disappeared, and the 4 people on the magic circle had disappeared. The noisy voices suddenly came from all directions, making people feel a little uncomfortable. Yang Kai turned his head and looked around, and found that he and the others had arrived in a prosperous city. Under his feet was a huge space magic circle, and above the magic circle, there were constantly figures that had just appeared, their cultivation bases ranging from strong to weak, their expressions it was different, some were overjoyed, some looked sad, and some were seriously injured, gasping for air. These people are obviously the same as Yang Kai and others. In order to avoid the changes in the laws of heaven and earth, they have just rushed back from outside. Yang Kai saw the existence of many Emperor Senior stages. The 4 of them stood on this huge magic circle, not too conspicuous. The whole city seems to be very prosperous, with crowds of people crowded shoulder to shoulder, and there are many shops around, selling all kinds of special products of this world. One after another, shouts come to the ears one after another, giving people a feeling of accidentally breaking into the secular world. It was the first time for Zhu Qing to come to such a lively place. She couldn't help being a little surprised, and looked around. There are well-dressed guards walking through the street, their steps are neat and uniform, and they are the guards of the imperial city. However, the cultivation bases of these guards are not too high. The leader is a first-level emperor, and the rest are all daoyuan. But many warriors on the street, no matter how strong or weak they are, avoid them like snakes and scorpions, and seem to be very afraid of them. Yang Kai clearly saw a strong man at the 2nd level of Emperor Senior get out of the way. In this world, it seems that there is no distinction between cultivation and inferiority. The previous pair of men and women were clearly weaker than themselves, but they did not have the slightest respect for the weak to face the strong. And it was even more obvious for Liao Guanxi. His cultivation base was inferior to anyone else, but he was able to dictate in front of that couple, making them lose their temper. There were people flying over in the sky, not many in number, and their cultivation levels were also uneven. Farewell, you two take care. The man seemed anxious to separate from Yang Kai Zhu Qing, so as not to be troubled by them, so he immediately left as soon as he recovered. Yang Kai sensed his thoughts and responded casually. The woman suddenly said, "A piece of advice to you two, don't provoke those who have the leaf logo embroidered on their chests. The more leaves there are, the more noble their status is. This is not your original world, and the weak are not prey to the strong. In addition, Guanxi Lao's death probably you won't be able to hide it for long, and you'd better leave human imperial city when the laws of heaven and earth change next time." "Thank you." Yang Kai smiled slightly. When the woman wanted to say something more, the man had already pulled her into the crowd, and soon disappeared. It's really an interesting world. Yang Kai looked around, watching with gusto. The entire human imperial city seemed to be shrouded in an inexplicable layer of restriction, and the restriction was absolutely magnificent, because in the human imperial city, one could not feel the changes in the laws of the outside world at all, and the laws here were almost the same as those in the star realm. Looking up, I saw that the sky was chaotic, and there seemed to be countless whirlpools that could swallow people's sight. After staring at it for a long time, I felt a little dizzy. "Is Zhu Lai here?" Yang Kai looked at Zhu Qing and asked. Zhu Qing said, "You need to find a place to perform secret techniques to be sure. I hope he is here too." Yang Kai smiled and said, "Don't worry, he is strong anyway, even if he is really outside, nothing will happen for a while." "Yeah." Zhu Qing nodded slightly, subconsciously stroking the little black dog in her arms. Ah Wang was very comfortable, squinting her eyes with a relaxed expression, and didn't know whether Liao Guanxi, who was swallowed by him, was dead or not. Live.